Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Fans in Motion podcast. As I say every time, the only podcast that you didn't know you needed. Josh, I say to you, does anybody know what we're looking for? Another hero, another mindless crime. Behind the curtain in the pantomime, hold the line. Does anybody want to take it anymore? The show must go on. Say hello, Josh.
That was beautiful, beautiful. I wait every week to hear what song you're going to
That is from
recite.
Queen. The show must go on. There's a reason I chose that song. A, because we are minus Brent, who seems to be sick or something. You are dealing with something on your end. Notice the different background behind you.
Yeah, I'm not in the vault of music. I'm in the yellow kitchen.
It's like in Eric Levy's studio.
Yeah, yeah. My 3-year-old's mother got COVID. He was exposed to it. Therefore, I had to, I went and got him, and so therefore, me and him are quarantined because he was exposed. So he's a wild man to begin with, being 3 years old and always wanting to do stuff, and I'm having to entertain him 24 hours a day. We're recording this Friday night, and I've had him since last Saturday morning. Probably going to have him for another week. So the mama's doing better today, but yeah, it's some serious stuff. She's pretty fit, pretty healthy, and it knocked her on her boo-boo pretty well.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're still dealing with this pandemic, and even though we are all dealing with our versions of problems, I say, the show must go on, as Freddie Mercury once sang.
This is what we do for you. I hiked all my equipment up the stairs and got the 3-year-old back here sleeping. So there is a chance he might wake up and want his daddy.
Bring him on.
He might
put him on.
He'll be pissed. He'll look at you. He'll look at you and go, "What?
Who's that guy?"
Yeah. All right, we're done here. Let's go. Let's go cozy.
So anyway, I used Queen because the episode that you're going to watch after this, we interview the one and only. You want to introduce the guy himself?
Yeah, Brandon Ethridge, and so a real quick, story of how Brandon Ethridge, came into the Night Ranger world was, and I'll tell the story more in detail. Is I went to a Night Ranger concert one year, and Eric Levy was not there, but another keyboardist was, and I'm like, who is this guy? So Brandon Ethridge played with Night Ranger for 3 days, for 3 shows, while Eric Levy was at home with his wife and his firstborn child. So we get to talk to Brandon about just how did it come to where you were able to be a Night Ranger, a ranger for a weekend.
Yeah.
And it's a cool story, but on top of that, his story is very cool as well. Brandon was in the official Queen tribute band that was put together by Roger Taylor and Brian May. We talk about that. He's done Broadway and musicals, the We Will Rock You, Queen musical that was on Broadway, Rock of Ages. Right. Him and Joel have worked together. That's how he came to perform with Night Ranger, was Joel recommended him.
Right.
But yeah, so we got some great Night Ranger stories, some great Queen stories. We talk about Brian May, Roger Taylor, and just some great life stories as well. Just how he got into music, that fate, it's amazing.
I still scratch my head at the I don't want to say dumb luck or falling backward into a really nice career, but he kind of did. If you watch the show and listen to the podcast, you'll hear what we're talking about. this was not his ambition. This was not his original goal.
Yeah, and now he's lived in Germany for, well, he did live in Germany for years, working over there in music. And what's great is, and I talk about it, and maybe I'll post him or something, but like when he's working Broadway in New York City, and that's where he was living, he would post videos. Okay, I'm riding my bike to work, and he starts riding his bike, and then he ends up right there on Broadway downtown, all the lights and everything. And it's a good guy. It's a good time, and he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So it's just a good story, and it involves Night Ranger. So, hey, this is what, hardcore fans want. Here you go. We've got it for you.
Yeah, and I know we'll touch it up, or people will watch it, but he kind of pulls the curtain back a little bit on what it's like to be a very quickly hired gun, and what it's like to step on that stage and and then hope that Jack stays with the set list when sometimes he doesn't, and how quickly you have to adapt, and how skilled he is at doing that. But anyway, we digress, and that is also the reason I chose a Queen song to honor what Brandon is doing currently, or what he was been. I guess he's not doing anything right now. Well, he is doing something. I take it back. He is doing something.
Yeah,
just not musical.
yeah. And we talk about that as well. So yeah, I guarantee, just stick around for his interview. It's entertaining. It's fun, and it's got Night Ranger in it. So there you go.
Yeah. So the previous episode was one of my favorites I think we've ever done, and I think a lot of people have also commented on it. I think Brent even responded with this being one of his all-time favorites. Was the Eric Levy's 13 Alan Fitzgerald riffs.
Yeah,
top 13.
And I think everybody had that same response we did hearing it. Isolated and everything. It's just fun.
It's so cool.
And we recorded that probably more towards the beginning of December, but I just thought we had the Gary Moon interview that we were kind of working on right there. So I decided, you know what, we'll just keep this a little bit, in our back pocket, and we will we'll shoot it out there the first week of January. Yeah. And of all the craziness that's happened that first week of January, it's nice to have that one little 2-hour podcast episode to bring you back to, something normal. So, it was a fun time, and Eric's great, and he's great to us and great to Night Ranger fans. And
absolutely,
who would have thought we'd be doing stuff like this? Not me.
I for sure did not. I noticed you read a lot of the comments. I try to interact with people on the page, and the one thing that people, and I think when Eric shared it, and some of his fans who aren't on our page, I think were chiming in, and they all commented. I think the vibe I got from most people was that how cool is it of Eric to honor Fitz the way he did. Mm-hmm. And I kind of reiterated that with people. It's like, it's true. He has absolute respect for Fitz, as all the fans do, and he wanted to show it, and he did a fantastic job. I mean, as I think I said to somebody on one of the threads, I said, when most people, let alone musicians, are narcissists and they want to talk about themselves, Eric's not that way. He wanted to talk about Fitz, and he wanted to honor the riffs. And so, again, if we haven't said it enough to Eric, thank you, and hope everybody enjoyed that episode.
I hear my 3-year-old coughing. Hold on.
Okay.
Not your typical podcast. I think he's all right. He'll let me know, right?
You can edit this out.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here.
Oh.
All right.
You need to go?
I may. Hold on. Hey, I'll start it off because we had some technical difficulties. More like my 3-year-old son getting pissed that I wasn't cozied up next to him in bed. But he didn't. He usually doesn't sleep with me. But since we've been on this quarantine, I've let him crash in my bed, so he's getting used to it. I got to probably put a stop to that. But Night Ranger News is where we would come next. That's where Brent would do all the and all that fun stuff. Really, there is no Night Ranger News. We do have Joel Hoekstra's got his new album. It's going to be coming out February 12th, I think. Anyways, go there and pre-order it. But the only thing that I got that's new, that is new is I can't remember the person's name. I apologize. Posted on the page that Night Ranger has a show May 27th. Of this year at a place I think called the District in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's a Thursday night, and she said they had front row tickets available. I checked right before we went on, and it seemed like there were still front row available tickets. They were $102 after service charge and everything, but they were front row. And there's obviously other cheaper options as well, but there is another Night Ranger show, and Night Rangers, as of a few days ago, are not adding these shows to their website. There are some in the future that are on there, but the Wabash, Indiana show that we've talked about is not on there, and that one was not as well. So Thursday, May 27th, I think I said, the District, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. There's another Night Ranger show out there in South Dakota. They don't give two craps about COVID. You could...
I'm just so hesitant to buy any tickets right now because we just don't know what's going to happen, and I don't want to have to put the money out, and then I'm waiting for it to come back. And I think, I don't know if I've made it clear, but I loathe Ticketmaster, so I don't want them to have any of my money unless they have to.
The Wabash, Indiana show and that show do not go through Ticketmaster.
Oh, God bless them.
Now, the Wabash, Indiana show, the service charge was like $5. This one still had a $13, $14 service charge each ticket, but whatever. So there you go, your Night Ranger news. What we got next?
Any new stuff, Night Ranger stuff, collectible or anything that you've purchased?
Listen, I've been trying to I've been looking on, different sites and stuff and purchasing some stuff for the page or for the podcast and stuff. So I don't really buy ticket stubs unless it's really early in the career, and there's just not a lot of those out there. Not really because they're hard to get. They just didn't print them. They were on tour with Sammy Hagar, and Night Ranger's not on the ticket. You see what I'm saying? So I don't care. I just don't. The only one I bought, it was 1980 Sammy Hagar, and I knew Night Ranger. I think it was their third show. They're not listed on the ticket, but I bought it. So really the only tours I would buy, and there's not a lot of Mojo ones, but I would probably buy a Mojo tour.
I can hook you up with a signed.
I saw that. But I
didn't realize I had all 4 autographs on there.
Yeah, David Zajac.
After I posted, I'm like, oh my God, Josh is going to really appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a David Zajac. I'd have to look and see if I had him, because I made sure he didn't sign my 7 Wishes and stuff like that. But I did buy a Man in Motion tour ticket stub there.
Back it up a little bit. Is that what does it say? Atlanta Civic Center?
Miller Genuine Draft and 96 Rock. Welcome, Kansas, with special guest Night Ranger.
Nice.
And it goes to show you how, again, Night Ranger's this headlining, machine, and then how quick they went down the bill to where in 1989 they're opening for Kansas, who at that time...
How much was that ticket?
Now, for 1989, it's an expensive ticket. It's $18.50.
Yeah.
I saw Metallica, Danzig, and Suicidal Tendencies in 1994 for $18.50. I saw Aerosmith in 1994 with pavilion seats for $23.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I was making in 1989. I was probably
Well,
making minimum wage was about $4.65 an hour. So
no,
yeah,
no. Minimum wage in 1993 was $4.25.
is that what that ticket's for? 93?
This is 1989.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said 89.
Well, you
What
said
was I?
You said 460. It could have been 460 because in 1993 minimum wage was 425.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah. Oh, I thought you confused my year, but
No.
actually I confused the dollar rate. Yeah. So, shit.
What I'm saying is 1850 was a good chunk of change in 1989. But yeah, it was. I paid, I don't know, $8 for it or something. I mean, a little bit more than
not bad.
normally more I would pay. But it's towards the end. It's February. We know Night Ranger really. We don't. I don't know if they lasted till March. Tour wise, and they broke. If you remember on the Man in Motion episode, we said that they had already decided before the end of the tour that they were breaking up. So, anyways, there is that. What we got next?
Fans in Motion. Anything regarding the page that you want to bring up? I know we're off a little bit because Brent. We all have these little jobs to do, and Brent's not here to do his part of the job. So, and I work today, so I'll follow Josh today, who has dealt with a sick child. So,
well, my child's not sick. Just
I mean, right?
Just a rambunctious kid. So I'll just name us some stuff that over the last week. James Gillen today posted his Man in Motion vinyl that he got, and you guys always know I love to see the vinyl. And it's a promo version, which I've usually when someone posts the Man in Motion vinyl, I will always say that it's harder to find a store-bought version, a standard version of the album than it is the promo, because they sent out a whole bunch of promos, and then when they hit the stores, no one bought them. So there's a ton of promos out there. Promos are actually harder or easier to find than the actual record, which is normally not the case. But anyways, it was cool seeing the Man in Motion vinyl out there. Sylvia Atwell was talking about a reality show that Night Ranger was on.
Yeah, what's that?
I think someone posted a link. Was The Bachelor Pad? It was like a spinoff of The Bachelor or whatever one of the shows are. The link is on there. So if you're listening to this, go to the Facebook page, Fans in Motion Night Ranger Tribute. Click join and just scroll and you'll find it. New member Scott Metzelfeld, I think.
Yeah. I haven't pulled up. I wanted to talk about this in case you did.
Well, I'll let you. Well, then we'll go back to you. Kathy Kirkman Lang posted that Night Ranger blanket. The ones you see ads of. You saw ads of all of 2020. It was like the same woman holding the same. As all I could think about is that woman's got a lot of blankets, but it's just Photoshop. But anyway, she got one in the mail. Has all the album covers on there, including Mojo. So it's a great blanket. But go ahead
the countertop version of Neverland.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, what album did they leave off? 7. It's like you leave off 7.
Oh, did they? I did.
Yeah, they left off 7, but you put.
I saw Hole in the Sun. Which
I'm like, yeah.
Put 7 on it. So yeah, Scott Metzelfeld. I have the picture here. I can kind of, if it'll show.
I'll put it up when we talk.
Yeah. His story was fantastic. I mean, his post opens up with, as the self-proclaimed world's Night Ranger expert and super fan. I was like, wow, I like this guy already. But he tells the story about how I guess he worked at a hotel and they were in town and he drove them to the venue or something. I'm paraphrasing it. But, yeah, he's got a signed guitar, man. And that is just real. I mean, it's 2001, so it's Jack Fitz, Brad, Kelly, and looks like Jeff.
Jeff, yeah.
I'm trying to pull it back from my bad 51-year-old eyes.
He said he was a GM at the Marriott Hotel there, and
what a great story. That's the stuff that I absolutely love about the page, is these things, because as we've said so many times, we always thought we were these great fans, and then you get something like that, and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, my game is horrible compared to this guy.
And Dwayne Vickers, he posted something that's framed, and it's like, I don't know. It's like all I got a ton of stuff, but it's not framed.
I love it.
I'm just not going to, I don't know. guess I'm just not going to put it on my walls, you know. So it's like I guess
Yeah.
that's why I'm not going to frame it. I did, for the sake of the podcast, go through it and put it by era. You know, okay, this is, you know, so I can at least grab the box now when we go to talk about it instead of rummaging through all the stuff. So
I know the one thing that got my juices going again, and you own this. I wish I owned it, but a actual friend of mine who's actually a member of the page, his name is Chris Hereth, brought up the box. Well, the box set got brought up in his conversation regarding the volume levels on the earlier CDs, albums, and
yeah,
I keep, like, people would post links. I think you've talked about how expensive that box set is, and I'm like, God,
well,
I so want it, but I don't have I'm not willing to pull the trigger on
Yeah.
that price, and I don't know it's going to get any better.
well, I kept an eye out for it when it first came out in 2007 or something. And yeah, I mean, it was still a $200 set. And I think I found it on eBay. Buy it now, 100, 110, 120. It was something like that to where, yeah,
You can't pass it up.
I bought it right then and there. And it's just been so long since I think I've thrown it in to really, could I tell him exactly what, and the reason why you're, and I'm not an expert, I'll let other people explain it, but is you hear, Google like compression and loudness on today's music CDs. That's why they're louder, is they're compressing that music. And so you put it in and it's louder in your ears, to where CDs and stuff that weren't remastered and are older, they're lower in volume because they're not as compressed. I can't really explain it. Just look it up, and hopefully you can explain it better than I can. But that's part of the remastering process, and that's why a lot of people don't like, I won't say a lot of people, there's music enthusiasts out there that don't like the compressed, because you're creating loudness, but you're losing quality sound too. So but
there you go.
Yeah. So
I wanted to throw that back up again. Last but not least, do you have any new music that you're currently entertaining?
I am, but if you are, when you listen to this episode with Brandon Ethridge, we talk about his CD, and when we're doing the interview, I say, hey, I ordered it, and it's actually coming in the next day, and but here it is, and you can get it off of Amazon. I don't know, $12 or so, and I mean, it's a good rock CD. If you like Night Ranger, you'll like that stuff. So, anyways, I just got that and been listening to some. So, you got anything else before we throw it into the brand?
Music-wise, I don't have anything I've been listening to, because I unfortunately only listen to the same handful of artists over and over. I have my own Hair Nation channel on my own iPod, but I do listen to a ton of podcasts, so that's what I do most of my time when I'm walking around. I'm listening to podcasts, or when Josh sends me links for stuff like Hinder.
Telling you what, man, Hinder.
Then I listen to that, but I don't have anything new that I'm listening to throw out to anybody. So
Hinder's got a good, is a good kind of Night Ranger, like 2 decades later. They're known for Lips of an Angel, Sister Christian. They had a couple other big ballads, Better Than Me. They had a cool rock song, Get Stoned, You Still Rockin' America. But that whole album, Extreme Behavior, is great. It's excellent. Their second album was really good as well. And then their third album, All American Nightmare, is just fucking phenomenal. And their fourth album was good too. But Austin Winkler is their lead vocalist, and he's an instrument in himself. I mean, his vocals are what makes those songs. So, if you're out there looking for something to listen to, and you just want good hard rock, melodic, rock, go get Hinder's 2006 album, Extreme Behavior. You won't regret it.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting too is, after you had talked to me about that, I forgot to mention this to you when we were chatting, texting each other. My daughter, I was driving her back home to her mom's house on Christmas or New Year's Day, and she's playing a Hinder song off her Apple streaming. You know, she has Apple Music. And when we get in the car, my daughter's 15, so she always wants to listen to rap. And I'm not. I just don't like rap music. It's nothing personal against rap. It's not for me. I want to listen to Night Ranger. So we try to find a middle ground. And she's always like, "Hey, Dad, what do you think about this song?" And she starts playing it. And I'm like, "That's a great song. It's Lips of an Angel." And then it wasn't like, a couple of days later, you're telling me about I should listen to more Hinder. I'm like, what are the odds of that? My daughter and Josh are on the same wavelength with Hinder.
Listen, there are 3 albums that are in the last 30, I mean, to me, it's all time, but in the last 20, 30 years, there's 3 albums that, I say in the last 20 years, that are just so great and phenomenal, every track, right?
Yeah.
Hinder, Extreme Behavior, Papa Roach, The Paramore Sessions, and Shine Down, Sound of Madness. Just every track just is great. And, I mean, there's very few albums I say that to. I can, and no Night Ranger album really is there for me. Maybe Midnight Madness, but another album, Stone Temple Pilots, Purple.
Oh.
And
I will agree with you on. I don't have the first 3 you mentioned, but Stone Temple Pilots. I was a big fan of the first, few albums. And when Scott died, I drifted away from STP. I'd like to go back and revisit it because I've had more than one person tell me it's still good stuff, man. You should listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, I like him with the other singer, but it's not Scott Whalen.
Yeah.
The first 4 STB albums are great. I mean, all the way to the Black Album number 4.
Yeah.
But Purple just stands above all of them. Aerosmith Pump, to me, is just a fantastic album. It's aged pretty well, but just all those songs were just great. I mean, yeah, you kind of heard them a lot, at that time. But going back there, you can't. The first Van Halen album, it's just you could go Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic. To me, that's just every song on it. Is just phenomenal. To where I skip, Walk This Way.
Right.
Sweet Emotion.
That's the one you skip.
All the other songs are just so phenomenal. But yeah, those are, there's not very many albums. I just say album wise, they're just everything about them. But that Ender album to me is just phenomenal. And yeah, most of my favorite bands are not on that list. There's no Kiss album that, goes.
What? Carnival of Souls isn't your Island album list?
I mean, I think like Beatles Abbey Road you could throw in there, and you probably throw in a couple Beatles records, and but yeah,
Lover Boys Get Lucky, clearly.
I don't think so. But
no.
But yeah, it's just what it is. It's just every song has to be every song. That's why Aerosmith Pumps is a little bit iffy because I never liked Monkey Business or Monkey on My Back. That was the one track off of Pump. I was like,
well, we could probably, maybe we should do a separate little bonus podcast where we talk about music albums. Like you say, it's hard to find an album that from front to back you're just like, yeah. I mean, even as big as Appetite for Destruction was, there's a couple of songs I'm like, not that they're bad. I just don't need to hear them.
And the 2 songs people will mention is Anything Goes and Think About You, which to me, Think About You is kind of like a Guns N' Roses ballad. But yeah, Anything Goes is the one song that kind of holds that up.
I hit my stride. I mean, what did it come out in 87?
Yep.
So I graduated high school in 87, man. I mean, I was young, a little wild, and that CD, CD, I don't think I had the cassette. I had the cassette. I mean, there wasn't a song I skipped when it came out.
Yeah.
But now, if I hear Paradise City or Sweet Child of Mine ever again in my life, I'm okay. I'm like, just because I've heard them too much.
But that's what makes a great
album. But they're not bad songs.
Is the fact you can go to My Michelle, Mr. Brownstone.
Rocket Queen for me is
Rocket
the one
Queen.
Never gets old.
Night Train, all those. That's what makes a good, and GNR Appetite is another one of those albums. So yeah, it's just, there's not many. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon is another just, I know a lot of people, and I mean, I'm not, the Eagles. I love the Eagles. It's just, again, you hear those songs, but like Hotel California, the album, that's a very good, you don't think about it, but, I think, I've pushed the Eagles away. I've kind of been Big Lebowski for the last 20 years. Like, oh man, I fucking hate the Eagles just because I heard them all the time. And then I've kind of rediscovered just how great they are. New Kid in Town. I was like, I listened to that again for the first time forever. I'm like, damn, that's
solid song.
Yeah, but I mean, think about Hotel California. Hotel California, the title track.
Yeah,
and
one of the greatest rock songs of our lifetime.
Yeah, think about it. It's a 7-minute song, and I'm pretty sure if you needed to, you could probably write out on a piece of paper how the whole song goes. Down and and the lyrics and everything. And but then you got New Kid in Town, Life in the Fast Lane, Wasted Time, and you got Pretty Maids All in a Row, and what the hell's the Randy Meisner song? But anyways, you have all those hits. Victim of Love.
Yeah.
So
wow, I need it in front of me. I can't recall all that stuff.
Was it Last Resort or something like that? Anyways, you have all these hits. So that's another album, but I don't maybe put it up there because I'm just not enough Eagles fan to. But yeah, so maybe you'll have to let us know what somehow we got into this rabbit hole.
We just need to set aside a time. We'll do a bonus episode for people, and we just talk about this. We'll do a top 10.
I think we already did. We can just throw out Lit and Butch Walker for
Butch.
And what's the other dude band that Brent likes?
Diamond Rex.
Diamond Rex, but there's another band, 80s band that he likes. He was talking about Lord Tracy. There you go. So we've already done Brent. We're done. Okay, here we go. We've
after all that, please enjoy Brandon Ethridge.
Brandon Ethridge, Ranger for a Weekend, man. Enjoy the story.
If you think that it's all over, find yourself a two-leaf clover. My head's over.
Welcome to another episode of Fans in Motion, as Andy would say. Your podcast for hot Night Ranger talk. Hot. Our guest today is we're going to call it Ranger for a Day, but I came to get new information that was Ranger for a Weekend. Mr. Brandon Ethridge, professional musician, has played tons of musicals, not Broadway shows, or have you done Broadway?
I've done one Broadway show,
All right.
show on Broadway. The other ones were were elsewhere, touring or in Europe or wherever else.
We'll share that little behind the scenes story. But how I came into contact with Brandon was get back in the time machine, go back to 2012. Night Ranger is not. Most of you know I'm in basically Columbus, Ohio. Night Ranger is playing in Portsmouth, Ohio on Labor Day weekend on a Friday night, and Portsmouth, Southern Ohio, down on the river, just a beautiful location. So I go down. I get a speeding ticket on my way down, but I go down and Night Ranger comes out, and there is this new individual on stage that I've never seen before.
A new terrified individual.
Yes, and all I could think was Eric Levy's been in the band for 2 years. He's got a taste of the stardom, and he's gone on a cocaine rage, and they've had to fire him.
Quite the opposite.
Well, that was the romantic in me. That was the story I was thinking. But you could tell that it was kind of hastily put together. I saw you maybe having some sheet music, just.
Oh, I thought I hid that completely.
Well,
damn it! You caught me.
We were on a hill, so you could look down, and not. I mean, you couldn't tell the difference sonically, musically.
Yeah,
I could just see that you were, probably having some guides, and I think, you're kind of taking cues off of the other musicians, like maybe starting and stopping more. You could just tell it was.
all sorts of crazy cues happening during that show.
Yeah. So, but it was great. And then I think during the show, they obviously stated what was happening, that Eric was back home and his wife had gone into labor with his first child, and you had come in to replace him for this small time period. We'll get more into the whole day and the logistics and everything that happened with you during that time. But what happened was I took some photos, not the best photos, but I got a hold of Joel a little bit down the road, Joel Hoekstra, and I asked him, hey, who was the keyboardist with you that night? And he gave me your name, and he said that he was on, I think, his friends list, or I could find you on Facebook. And I did, and we got in contact. I sent you the photos. I think, we became friends on Facebook. And then after that, I just basically watched this awesome career that you have, traveling the world with the official Queen tribute band and doing some of these musicals and YouTube videos where you do all these piano pieces, and it's just it's fun to watch all that stuff. And I was like,
well, thank you.
I was telling the guys, I'm like, listen, this is going to be a great story. Number one, just how do you get the call to go play with Night Ranger? Hey, tomorrow, what are you doing? Nothing. Come play with us. Come play with Night Ranger. And then just seeing all these cool stories that you have and everything you've posted with New York City. I mean, I love the YouTube video of, hey, I'm going to work, and you hop on your bike and you ride your bike from your apartment, and it's just going down city streets, and all of a sudden you're on Broadway, all the lights, and you pull up to the theater, and now you're at work. So yeah, that's basically how Brandon Ethridge came into our Night Ranger world. So, but it all started in probably the farthest place from New York City. And I think it actually mirrors, Andy, tell me if I'm wrong. Brandon, you may not know. There's a movie, 1987, Secret of My Success, with Michael J. Fox. Where
I have not seen it. I know of the movie. I have not seen it. Yeah, I know. Unbelievable.
Night Ranger has the big title track off that.
Yes, I'm aware. Yeah.
Yeah, and but I think he's from Kansas.
It's funny. I just watched it the other day, and I'm drawing a blank, but I think you're right. I think it's Kansas.
He goes from Kansas to New York City. Now
I'm surprised I don't know this. Okay.
Well, there you go. You're going to have to track that down. But so it all starts in Kansas. Where at in Kansas were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Wichita, Kansas, outside of Wichita, Kansas, this little town called Mays. 700 inhabitants, tiny little school. I was with most of the same people from kindergarten all the way through my senior year. It was a real tight, small school. Lived out in the country on a dirt road on the Cowskin Creek.
Wow.
And now you said Mays, right, with the M?
Yeah, M-A-I-Z-E, as in the corn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were there for basically your whole childhood, right? You said
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, from age 0 to 18.
And so was your family musical? How did you get the music bug?
It's doing music during my childhood, it was just one of several things I was doing. I was in Boy Scouts, I played soccer, I played piano, and didn't take any of them too seriously. It's just like a small part of my life. And what happened was, in my final year of high school, my senior year, there was a piano recital with the several kids who play piano at school. And so I played there, maybe 4 or 5 other played there. And then in the second half of this concert, we had a guest artist from the university, Wichita State University. He was a professor there of piano performance. And he approached me after the show and asked me where I intended to major in music. And he was real taken aback when I told him I'm not going to major in music. I'm just going to major in business. who majors in business? I don't know. I didn't have any special interest, so it's just like something I thought that sounds pretty generalized. I'd go to KU, Kansas University. And he said that he was leaving Wichita State University to go to Arizona the very next year, and he needed to recruit a class of pianists. And he is going to get me a full tuition scholarship. So it's like, what?
Wow.
Out of state, away from the parents, tuition for free. So that's what I ended up doing. And when I got this scholarship contract, it was just a little one-page thing. I noticed I only have to take a few hours of music courses per semester, and I thought, well, hell, I'll just go ahead and study business anyway, major in business anyway. But then I found when I suddenly started practicing piano for the first time in my life that I actually got pretty good. And I suddenly got it in my head, this is what I want to do. Like at age 18, I decided I'm going to become a musician. So it happened to me. I didn't really choose it so much. It's very strange.
So before that, during your high school years, junior high years, did you ever realize that you had a certain gift with the piano? I mean, were you better than your peers, or did it come easier?
Everyone kept telling me that, and yeah, I was better than most, or maybe all of my peers in that really small school. Man, as soon as I got out and went to college, and then even more so when I got to New York City, I realized how good people really are out there in the world. Yeah, but you know what? Just being that medium-sized fish in a very small pond gives you a certain confidence that's probably undeserved, but it's probably helpful in life,
Mm-hmm.
If I'd been born in New York City, I probably would have felt so beaten down the entire time and so worthless. I may have gone nowhere with it. I don't know. Or maybe the opposite. Maybe I would have been more inspired and pushed upward by all the people around me. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm from Kansas, and it turned out okay, man.
It did, man. You had a great run.
So, and what's great was the timing of the instructor of him leaving Wichita.
Yeah. It wouldn't have happened otherwise. I mean, if it wasn't the thing of out of state, full tuition scholarship, it wouldn't have happened.
And was he the only one that basically? So there was no other schools, or there was nothing inside of you pursuing the musical avenue.
No, not at all.
It was just the two fates crossing and getting him seeing you and getting you the scholarship. What did your parents think when you were going from a business degree to a musical degree?
My dad was not real happy about it, but he was happy that I didn't go into the military. So I took an aptitude test. You know those aptitude tests you take in high school?
Mm-hmm.
And way above everything else for aptitude was military.
Yeah.
And both my dad and I thought, well, we don't like that result. Let's take a different aptitude test. And once again, military went right to the top.
Well, maybe it has something to do with Kansas because
I know you were in the military.
Yeah,
right?
and
my father was so terrified of me, going to war and losing my life that he was very much against it. Even though he's one of the biggest military supporters I've ever seen, but he did not want his own son to go into it.
Yeah, and most of my experience with Kansas was doing exercises around the United States, and it seemed like I always worked with people from, is it McConnell that's in Kansas?
Yes.
McConnell Air Force Base. It was always, seems like, that's where I would end up teaming up with. And yeah, I mean, Kansas is just so, I always joke with people that Kansas is basically a cornfield with a road through it. And that's when you said maize. I thought you originally said haze, because I remember driving cross country once.
There is a haze, yeah.
Yeah, and I hit Kansas City, and I was like, all right, I'll drive next. And I basically drove straight for, 5 hours, and there was a sign that said haze, 500 miles, haze, 400 miles. I get to haze, and it literally, like, the city limit signs were back to back. And I'm like, this is what I drove. And, like, my heart, I got all excited once because I saw a curve in the road. So, yeah, that's
deadly. Driving through western Kansas is just deadly. It is.
Oh, it's yeah, and even eastern Colorado. But
I've never been. It's
Yeah,
just it's
correct.
just flat, right?
Yeah, it's just flat and straight. There's really no landmarks to keep you awake.
it's a cornfield with a road through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't, you'll enter Kansas on 70 if you're driving. You'll enter like sober, and by the time you leave, you're an alcoholic, man. You're just like, you got to do something. But
So we now have some cotton fields to break it up once in a while, right?
Ah,
We got
there-
wheat fields too, so that's
well,
the exciting.
I was
You go
driving
from
through the middle of the night.
cornfield to cotton field. Oh shoot!
so,
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen it.
But it's just that is my interpretation of Kansas. And I always make the joke just because, again, I think it's maybe a stereotype of Kansas. Like when people like, "What's your wildest night?" I go, "Oh man, 1997 Topeka," and they just look at you. You know, I didn't have a wild night in 1997. Well, I did, but it wasn't in Topeka. But you just throw out Kansas, and they're like, it's the
Like,
farthest from the universe in my mind, as you can get. And what was crazy is you're in New York City. That's where you end up at.
Mhm.
So it's interesting just to hear you come, being brought up in Kansas. So now you move off to Arizona. Is that a big, is it a big culture shock from Arizona to Kansas?
It kind of was. It's it's desert. I guess I that didn't shock me too much, but I was suddenly around people from different countries, and that was a real eye opener. Most of the so I actually ended up switching teachers in my second year, and that teacher was a Brazilian guy, and he had a bunch of Brazilians in his class. So that was really neat to get exposed to someone who was not from the United States of America. It was fascinating to me. So yeah, that was the biggest eye opener. But it's in a way, Phoenix and Wichita, they're both car cities. Lots of parking lots, strip malls. I mean, it's not that different. Now, when you get to New York, of course, it feels very different.
Wildly different.
Yeah.
Now, during this time, are you even in high school back in Kansas or in Arizona? Are you in any bands? Are you doing any garage bands, anything like that?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's growing up. I listened really exclusively to guitar rock bands. I mean, it's like Zeppelin, and I'm wearing a Zeppelin shirt now. AC/DC, and whenever I listened, I just was fascinated, and I focused on the drums and the guitar. I didn't even hear the singer or the bass player, and definitely not the keyboard players. Like, I don't think I even noticed until later that Zeppelin ever has keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
And AC/DC never has. I don't know.
Right.
I think AC/DC has ever had a single keyboard in any single song ever.
I can't imagine it.
I heard there was a keyboardist that walked by their recording studio one time and he was never seen again.
Yeah, just did away with it.
Message was sent.
So hang on, let me jump in. So Brandon, growing up, so you didn't have these aspirations to be like a rock star, like I did. I was 7 years old. I had a Kiss album, and it changed my world. I started playing drums.
I've heard a lot of people say that. Yeah,
all I wanted
with
them
Kiss
to do
specifically. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to spit fire, wear makeup, and scare people.
Uh-huh.
It just blows my mind because you didn't even have that. You were just a talented guy. You didn't even know it.
I did not. It's just like I remember. Oh God. So during high school, what did we have? We had a whole bunch of Journey coming out, and that's very piano driven at that time, especially.
Yeah.
Don't Stop Believing is completely piano driven almost, and so I could learn those things real quick, and it's just like I remember at some point there was a piano for some reason in the hallway in my school. They were probably moving it from one room to another, and on break between classes, a few of the girls said, "Brandon, would you play something? Play something from Journey." It's like, okay. And then I played Don't Stop Believing. They're like, ah, and I'm just like, God, that's so simple. And I was wrong. I didn't realize how hard rock is. I probably sucked at playing it at that time, right?
But you played it well enough, and that's what we
well
always,
enough, yeah.
I mean, again, I played drums well enough to get people to applaud.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm not a touring musician, so
Now,
not that good.
you mentioned Journey was. I'm trying to think of like other keyboard centered rock from that time period. What about Styx? Did you ever get into Styx?
I
REO.
did, and once
Yeah,
again,
REO.
I focused mostly on the guitar, listening to it. Right? It's like, and yes, Styx is one of the most amazing keyboard bands ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got some pretty damn awesome keyboard songs.
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah, and that didn't
That's
didn't
just
do it for me.
Just how talented are you? That's amazing. It just. Oh my god.
well. What's and I'm trying to. I'll try to best word this the best way I can. Is okay. So my degree is I'm not a teacher, but my degree was in teaching. And I did the student teaching and taught for a while. And now not all, but some of my students that got the worst grades or were the most misbehaved were actually the smartest students. So how I got them engaged was, hey, you know what, I want to give you the same test as everybody else, but it's only going to be 50% of your grade if you're up for this challenge. And I would give them a 3 or 4 page essay to work.
To really interest them, yeah.
Basically, what it was is they were getting bad grades because they didn't care because the stuff was so easy, and they were acting out because all this stuff was so easy to them. It wasn't challenging. So, just when you're talking about these groups and just kind of like brushing it off, it's probably because how good you were even back then.
I don't think so. No, I really don't think so. That's
No?
not it. I was probably not even that good at playing those piano parts. I was just interested in drums and guitar. It's really that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. I can tell you how I didn't get into guitar.
Eddie Van Halen.
Oh gosh, my God! I was.
You saw that? I was like, well, I'm out.
Obsessed by Van Halen.
Yeah.
It's at some point I did take guitar lessons, and the teacher, I probably went 5 or 6 times. Just jazz scales. He had me just practicing jazz scales, and it annoyed me so much because it doesn't sound like music just playing jazz scales, right? It's not. Scales are not music. I mean, it's a component of music, but it's not music. Why didn't he have me just playing the riff of Smoke on the Water to start with, just to get me excited, He never asked me what kind of music I wanted to play, and it didn't occur to me back then that I could request what I wanted to play, I just was not very outspoken. I was really shy. And so that I could have ended up becoming a guitarist otherwise. Maybe. I don't know.
Did you ever dabble in the drums?
Oh, just I've whacked on drums a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah.
Not any good at it.
Neither is Andrew.
I get the same comments all the time. You're not really good at that. You got a skill level for retail.
you mentioned something about when you went to Arizona State, correct?
Yeah.
And you kind of really had to start taking practice probably more seriously than you had before.
Oh, yeah.
Looking back, what is when it comes to practice and routines or theories behind practice, when you look back, what was something that you did that benefited you more than other things? I mean, because practice, I think that's a big thing with people is they don't know how to practice. Maybe they spend more time on something that they shouldn't than they should.
So I always intuitively knew not how to play piano properly, not the technique, but I always knew how to build a practice session real efficiently, because I would practice for like 30 minutes before the lesson. So that's like 30 minutes a week. That's what I did back in high school. And so I would play through the song or the piece, and then look for the parts that I didn't play well and only practice that part. I wouldn't start from the beginning again like a lot of people do, right? And then I would just practice in building blocks and just take the difficult parts, and then I'd practice the difficult part, master that, and then do the bar before that bar, and the next bar, just to like seam it together, then put it within the context of the piece. So I knew how to do that. But then in college, when I really started practicing like 7 hours a day instead of 30 minutes a week, I started hurting really bad. Then I came into contact with a teacher there who really knew about the mechanics of piano playing, and I went back basically to square one. He explained to me something that just never occurred to me. When you play piano, it's like hitting a drum. It's a percussion instrument. You like, let's take it in drum terms. If you hit, you don't continue pressing on the skin after that, right? First of all, it would kill the tone. But with piano, it doesn't. You could theoretically hit it and then keep pressing really, really hard on it. It wouldn't affect the tone, but it will really screw up your muscles, right, and your tendons. So I was doing that. I was keeping, after striking the key, I continued pressing really, really hard. And he showed me how you just hit it really hard or soft, depending, and then release as much as you can and barely hold the key down enough to keep the tone going. Right? And then suddenly I'm using a tenth as much energy as I was before. And so I literally practiced just bum, made sure I was completely relaxed. Bum. And I would do that for hours and re-taught myself to play piano. And thank God I did, because I was in pain my freshman year in college.
That's just something, like, to us. I mean, well, I don't consider myself a musician. I've played some instruments and stuff, but that's just something you never really think about, just as a piano player, just something small of a technique, how it when it is your job or your college career, how that could impact your playing. Like, so it's just weird to hear you say that you were in pain your whole freshman year from playing. Yeah,
it's almost like you got to let the instrument do its job, let it work, let it. I do the same thing. I mean, I used to play so hard. I want to be like Alex Van Halen, and I'm just bashing, and I would wear myself out. And then we started playing gigs, my little cover band, and you get mic'd. Well, you don't have to hit very hard once you're mic'd.
That's right.
You can just tap it, and actually, I have a Roland electronic kit. You can barely hit that thing; it doesn't matter, and it's fantastic.
So, where does Arizona State take you? Where's your? Do you get job offers? How does that work when your college degree is music? Like,
it's. I don't know what would have happened if I'd stayed in the United States, but I didn't, because, once I completed my bachelor's degree, I decided to get a master's because I really wanted to pursue this classical music. I wanted to pursue classical piano. And so I went to New York to audition. So Juilliard didn't accept me. They heard me audition, but I didn't play well enough to get in.
What year is this, by the way? Just for timeline.
1990.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the audition would have happened in 89 probably.
Okay.
No, 1990. Probably the audition happened in 1990. And then, but Mannes School of Music and Manhattan School of Music, they accepted me, but didn't offer scholarships. And just, the cost of living in New York plus the tuition was just more than... my wonderful dad would have been willing to scrimp and save and do it, but I just couldn't bear to see that much money being spent. Then it occurred to me of an opportunity I might have in Germany, because I think maybe my junior year in college, my teacher left to go to Germany just on a teacher exchange, and a German teacher came to Arizona State. So I had lessons with him for a semester. And he had mentioned at the time that if I ever want to study in Germany, I should contact him, and I never thought about it again until I realized New York was going to be too expensive for a master's. So I call him up. He was happy to hear from me, and I asked him about what tuition costs there, and he says, "Oh, there is no tuition."
Oh.
And I said, "Oh, you mean you can get me a scholarship?" And he said, "No, there is no tuition." So you'd be getting me a scholarship. No, there is no tuition. I just didn't get it, right?
Didn't make sense.
Yeah. And then I also said, well, my parents never paid taxes there. He says, it doesn't matter. There is no tuition. You just have to get accepted. And it's like, well, what are my chances of getting accepted? And he said, well, I'm the head of the piano department, so you're in if you want to come. So it's, yeah.
Wow.
Well, and by the way, one of the things that Germany does with the free college thing First of all, I think they mostly, with the exception probably of music, have degrees that really lead somewhere to making money, first of all. And secondly, they've discovered that I think it's if 1 out of 13 students can work for 10 years and pay taxes in that field, they will have paid tuition for the other 12 students. So it ends out evening out, even with foreigners coming in to take these spots. It is. But their colleges cost less. They don't have gyms. They don't have student unions. They don't have all this fancy stuff that American schools have. They are bare bones, but they're good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So you hop on a plane. You go to Germany to.
Well, first of all, okay, let me stop you right there. We get to Wichita Airport. My luggage weighs too much. That's like shit. I had to leave all my vinyl records at the airport with my father, so I went to Germany with no vinyl records.
Well,
so
where at in Germany where was your school?
A town called Lübeck, way up north.
All right.
LU with the 2 little dots over it.
Yeah.
Lubeck.
All right. Was there any American military installations around you?
No, Frankfurt there were, which would have been about 4 hours south.
Okay. So you could always try to get on base and go to the BX there, the PX, and buy your American records there. So you had to leave all your vinyl behind. So did you speak any German before you went over there?
I happen to have had 1 semester of it in college because we had to have a foreign language course in college, and French was at 7 a.m., so I did German, which was 9 a.m.
Well,
Smart.
You know what? That is the one instance where being the early bird, or not being an early bird, actually paid off.
Yep.
So is like a master's degree there? Is it a 3-year course like it usually is in the States, or is it different?
It's 2 or 3 in the States, and it was there too. I think it took me 2 years to get it.
Now you're working towards this master's. What is like the end game? Is it for you to be, a professional musician and the orchestras and all that stuff? What is the end result that you're wanting at this time?
Yeah, well, at age 19, when that bug hit me, or 18, when I just thought I have to become a classical pianist, I really imagined I could become like a professional soloist, concert pianist, soloist, not realizing that's kind of like an ice skater saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to the Olympics. You don't do that at age 18. You do that at age 4, right? And then you might go to the Olympics. Piano is one of those instruments. Piano and violin are like 2 of the instruments. You just have to start at a crazy early age to reach the absolute top level of classical proficiency. So I guess go into teaching and stuff. But what happened is, while I was there studying my master's, the local theater, even the smaller cities have theaters, full-time theaters with a full acting ensemble, opera and ballet. And one of their acting, like a play, they needed music written for it and performed. So they asked me if I was interested, and I did it. Turned out real well. Then after that production was over, they asked, hey, do you play accordion? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I went out and bought an accordion.
Who doesn't?
Hey, do you arrange vocals? Yeah, sure. And so I just, like the hard school, it's just like, you have a job, you have to create a product, and I would just learn on the fly. So that was probably my best schooling, is doing that theatrical work over there. And we're not talking musicals. We're talking about music for plays, right? Creating new stuff.
So do you finish your master's there, or is anything in between pull you away? I mean, so you were able to finish.
And I ended up staying for a damn long time. Yeah, I ended up staying for 9 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was after you graduated? What jobs were you doing?
Well, I was doing these theatrical jobs.
Okay.
Yeah. I was getting paid. I did some piano teaching, and it was enough to get by. I then, in the meantime, I got this band together where I taught myself I did end up teaching myself to play guitar. And I started a band. It was a punk pop band. You just told me earlier that you just bought that album, didn't you?
I did.
Thank you. First sale in 10 years, I think.
Now you can retire.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And so I sang and wrote the music and played guitar, and it was a 4-piece band. And when that dissolved after a while, I thought, well, I'll go to the United States and do it there, right? And ended up being harder than I thought. So that's when I first went to New York.
So the CD that we're talking about, was that recorded in Germany?
Partly. The drums were recorded in Germany, like in the last week before I moved to the United States. He recorded all the drums for me, and then the rest I recorded at home. I first moved to Kansas, so I should say that. Went to Kansas for about half a year, and then I recorded the rest of the album, the vocals, the bass, the guitar. So all the other instruments are me on that record, except for the last 2 songs.
In Kansas?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. How what kind of culture shock did you have coming back from Germany back to the United States? It's
Man, it was tough at first. I'm pretty good at running back and forth now. It's when you learn a new language as an adult, you like kids, they can just talk. They don't have to think about it, right? But if you're an adult, you have to focus a lot if you're going to speak a foreign language. And I found myself focusing that much speaking English. So I would come home and think about every word I was saying, and it sounded like I had a funny accent or something. It was really, really weird. It was terrible. I felt, and I was, extremely awkward coming back after all that time. I got used to different humor, different everything, And in the 90s, gosh, there's really no way to keep touch with American culture. Like now, you can go to you can go on vacation anywhere in the world, and then in the evening you watch your Netflix movies.
Yep.
Right? And you listen to you can continue staying immersed in American culture. Not over there. You want to hear music, you go to the record store to buy it. If you want to hear or listen to the radio, and then it's German radio.
Yeah.
I guess there was the Armed Forces Network, right?
Yeah.
I did ever check that out. I should have.
Well, and to kind of maybe give a story that I have that can maybe translate a little bit. Now, I was in Spain in 2003 for, I don't know, a month, 45 days or something, right? Just a small mission. And over there on the TV, now this is before Facebook and all that stuff, so kind of we still had email, but you're still kind of separated from what's going on in the United States. Now, I was only there for 45 days, so it's nothing like what you're talking about. But on our TV in our room, it was and it barely came in. We had MTV Europe, and all they played was 2 songs, it seemed like. One was Jewel, a song called Intuition, and another one was a band called Within Temptation, and it was a song called Ice Queen. And they played these songs nonstop. So I knew them after 30, 45 days. Well, I come back to the United States, that Jewel song is everywhere. But the other song,
wow,
it's like no one in the United States had heard of it. I'm like, and it just like, how can that be so big where I was just at?
It's shocking, right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely shocking.
And yet you come, I'm on a plane, and 7 hours later, it's like nothing. I'm like, well, how does that song translate? And this one doesn't. So I kind of get what you're saying there, where you especially after 9 years. I mean, It's got to be definitely interesting because, again, what you say with like Facebook and all that stuff, even in my trips that would last like 8 months, I was still always in contact with individuals.
Very different.
Night range. Yeah,
literally handwritten letters. Handwritten letters is how. Phone calls were too expensive.
Yeah.
Right. So didn't do phone calls much either.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Definitely.
Isn't that unbelievable? And now we're Skyping for free.
Yep.
But just a phone call was so expensive that you would not do it.
Well, so much changed. I was in Iraq in 2004, and I was in Afghanistan in 2013. And just between those years, 2004, everything was phone cards. There was, again, you had email, but
MCI.
You got the phone card. You went. They would have a trailer on base full of phones, and you would wait and go and talk to everybody on the telephone. In 2004. In 2013, we had this Skype and Facebook video and Messenger, and you had Wi-Fi in your room, so you could at least communicate with people. And the phone banks were still at the bases in 13, but they were empty. It was a ghost town there. So it's just crazy how just even technology just changed over that period, and you don't realize how. Just exactly how you said, Brandon. Here we are, the three of us. You're in Kansas, and Andrew's in Tennessee, and I'm in Ohio. I mean, imagine being able to do this when you were in Germany, talking to your dad or your friends and stuff.
And we become so dependent, too. It's like, you've been in your car, and it's like, try to open Google Maps, like, damn it, it won't work. How do I find it? It's like, come on, man. It's like, read a street sign.
You lose patience because it doesn't happen instantaneously.
Yeah, insane.
And you don't get the experience of being young and lost in a big city, and like, damn it, this map doesn't go down far enough, and you're trying to figure out where you are and all that.
I remember that. Like holding a paper map, and it's like New Yorkers who are supposedly also rude. They're not. I mean, they're quick and they're brusque and they get it over with and they don't take long to talk. But just constantly, it's like, hey, you need help finding something. I mean, like back in the days when you were holding a paper map, they're always willing to help. It's very cool.
My atlas. I mean, I had this atlas. I made notes on it. Like I knew where to park in Chicago for Cubs games. If I was just happened to be going through Chicago and hey, there's a game I can go see. I knew. Because there's no like Chicago is kind of like New York City. There's no parking. But I found 3 blocks away. I found this lot for $20. I could park. I'm like, I told my buddy because I was driving. I was go write that on that map right now, so I always have it and the exit. I mean, but I miss having an atlas full of notes and everything. And but
now you've got an app that's called ParkWiz, and you can just type in where you're going, and people will like rent you their driveway. Because I've done it.
Oh, is that a new thing? Wow.
ParkWiz, any city you're in. I've done this. Speaking of, I went and saw Pearl Jam at Wrigley Field, and we were trying to find a place to park because it's so unbelievably expensive there in Wrigleyville. And this guy who owns a gym, he has one spot behind his gym, and he rents it for like $20.
It's brilliant. It's like the Airbnb of driveways.
You reserve it,
insane. That's a great idea.
Pull in, and he's like, "Are you Andy?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Come on in." Pulled it. He moves his little cones out of the way, parks the car, and he's like,
"Brilliant idea."
Yeah, ParkWiz.
Yeah. See, and if you're listening to this, you just thought you were going to get a cool Night Ranger story, and now you know all this great stuff. So Brandon, you're in Kansas. How does New York City get your attention? Is that the next stop on this adventure?
Yeah. So I briefly stopped in Kansas to regather my wits and stuff after being in Germany for so long, and decided I want to go to a music place to become a rock star and do my own music. And so I just figured Los Angeles, Nashville, or New York. And New York just appealed to me kind of the most, but that's not what happened. Really, the reason I went there is because I got a phone call from an old college classmate who says, "Hey, I know you were thinking of moving to somewhere. My buddy's looking for a roommate in New York City." I was like, "Okay, then I'll move to New York." So
wow,
that's how I ended up moving to New York.
Now, are you still at this time pushing that CD that we were talking about?
Yes, that was the whole reason I went there, and it failed miserably. It's like this is like total West Coast pop punk that I'm doing. I didn't even know that there was like scenes in the United States with different types of music and stuff. And right there, they were almost like in the third folk revival in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and in the hipster scene. And it's just like that was just poison. The music I was doing was just poison there, and had no interest whatsoever. And
the CD we're talking about is that 13 Useless Songs for Sale?
That's right.
Okay.
Good
Great title.
It's exactly what it is.
So
I love that title.
you can get the CD on Amazon, which I ordered it, and it was
That's right.
like
Plug it.
It was like it said it wouldn't be delivered till the middle of January. I think it's one of these ones where they print it. There's no physical copy, but they print it when you order it and then ship it out. And I just got a notification a couple days ago that it will be arriving tomorrow. But
Cool.
Time for the interview.
Yeah.
So if you like it, let me know what you think of it. If you don't like it, just don't call me.
The clips are on the audio is on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I
And
was
Spotify and iTunes and everywhere. Yeah.
well. There you go. And I listened to the tracks over the last couple of weeks. So you have a song on there called "Singing to Myself," which I thought was a great track. And originally, you definitely could hear your Beatles influence on that. But then after listening to it a couple times, were you a fan of Harry Nilsson?
I became one very recently. Didn't know him all that well. Wow, what a brilliant guy.
Because after listening to it, maybe I was trying to think, okay, I definitely hear some Harry in there, which isn't too far-fetched because, the Beatles and Harry Nilsson are very much kind of the same genre. But I think lyrically it reminded me a little bit more of Harry Nilsson when I originally listened to it. I thought more of the Beatles. But you have stuff like that has that influence to it. But then you have a song kind of like "Beautiful Loser" that's kind of like an alternative rock, style, along with the song I think called "Yeah," kind of fit that style as well. And then, with us being Night Ranger fans, there was a few songs I could see almost in the Night Ranger vein. Seven is a Night Ranger album. It came out in 1997. That is kind of a little bit all over the place. It's got, hard rock songs, ballads, acoustic stuff. And I could see these songs on that album. Definitely had a song called "Don't Matter to Me, I Don't Care." And then definitely a song I thought would fit Night Ranger really well was
some of those lyrics embarrass me now. Oh gosh!
But a song called "Middle of the Sun" I thought was really good as well.
I like that one. I'm proud of that one.
"Middle of the Sun" was probably my favorite out of the three. So, anyways, it was a good album. I enjoyed listening to it, and definitely if you get a chance, check it out. And if you like Night Ranger, you're going to like some of the tracks. If you like the Beatles, there's obviously some Beatles influences. And it has that early 2000s, 90s, which makes sense. It's about time you're writing it. Kind of that alternative rock feel as well on some of the songs. So you moved to New York. You got a roommate. The album doesn't quite go as you thought it would.
I can't even get a band together. It's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
So where do you think about giving piano lessons in German? Are you trying to go, find that around?
I gave piano lessons at home. That's how I tried to pay the rent there. Ended up going into debt anyway because, New York City is expensive. And I moved there right after 9/11. I moved there literally 2 weeks after 9/11.
Oh, my gosh.
And so the economy was all screwed up there, especially in New York. And I just could not find a job to save my life and ended up running out of money real quick. And then I got an opportunity to do a big show over in Germany, as in a musical this time. So I took it. And then, ended up staying in Germany again. This time doing musical theater, though. That was a new thing to me then.
So how long were you in Germany doing the musical theater?
Germany, Austria, and Switzerland for 7 years. So that's a total of 17 years, like more than half of my adult life I spent over there in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, it changes you too. I mean, even there was a small time period where maybe in 3 years, I probably spent over 2 years overseas, and just that small period there, and it was at different times. I went to Liberia in Africa, and I was there. I came back. I went to Guam in the Pacific Ocean, came back, and then I went to Afghanistan. So I was all over the place there, but just for 2 out of 3 years, that kind of changed me a little bit. Just
I would think so. The places you've been are just so far away, not just geographically, but culturally from the United States. It's like, I know Germany's different from the United States, but it's still, a big, strong economy and extreme everything, the latest technology everywhere. And in the end, is not that different. It's Western culture, a very capitalistic Western culture society. And man, the places you've been, that's crazy. I am envious, actually, that you've seen all these places.
Well, I'm envious of you spending so much time in Germany and Switzerland and all those places. But but what I'm saying is, even just in a short amount of period of time, it changed me to where you were there, like you said, 17 years. Did you ever get German citizenship or dual citizenship at all, or anything like that?
I had. It's pretty easy to get work permission over there for the music scene as an American. It's musical theater is an American-dominated industry, so they actually need. Germany ends up their musical theater industry is so big that they end up having to import a lot of foreigners to fill the jobs. So a whole bunch of Australian dancers end up going to Germany. British performers end up going to Germany. American musicians. For the scene there, yeah.
Well, and speaking of the Beatles, didn't they do a lot of time in Germany?
They did. That's
Way
where
back in the
really,
day.
absolutely. Yeah. That's where they got their start in Hamburg.
Well, and going off a little bit, we mentioned the Armed Forces Network, and that's where a lot of these, your British and European rock stars, the Stones and the Beatles, and all those musicians, that's how they got influenced, was by the Armed Forces networks that were in Germany. They would tune into those, and that's how they would hear all these American artists originally.
I just learned this a few weeks ago. It's fascinating.
And what's crazy is country and Western music is real big in Germany because Armed Forces Radio. Like, if I want to get the best George Jones box set, I have to order it from Germany because that's where they produce them from. Yeah, it's just interesting stuff like that. I don't know. I enjoy. But so what gets you out of Germany for the second time?
I got hired to do Rock of Ages. It's now we're getting into the Night Ranger world here.
Yeah.
Night Ranger has a very big song in Rock of Ages. The musical, Rock of Ages, the musical takes place in the 80s, and all the music is from the 80s. It's a jukebox musical with a real charming story. Cheesy love story, and it plays up the cheese as much as it can. It knows it's cheesy and is proud of being cheesy. So Sister Christian is in there from Night Ranger.
But how do they pull you from, like, how do you get that, like, does you have a buddy there? Or
I was hired by a guy named Ethan Pop. He's a musician I worked with over in Germany. He was my boss at We Will Rock You, the Queen musical, which I ended up doing over in Germany. So, like it is so often in music, I think in probably any job, you do a certain job, meet people, and that just expands your network.
All right. I just thought maybe they're putting the musical together and it just wasn't working. Kind of like in the movies, you see them rehearsing on stage and the director's like, stop. And they're like, you know what we need?
They didn't need me to save them.
We need a German pianist. Find me a German pianist.
Not at all.
So the offer was it similar to what you were doing in Germany?
Yeah, it was music direction. So it was primarily I was being hired as a music director, right? Who plays keyboard as well. So in most musical theater, especially like more modern stuff that's rock oriented, the music director will play keyboard while conducting the show, and he's also in charge of teaching all the material to the singers and keeping the quality of the music department, which means band and singers. He's responsible for quality assurance, basically.
And that's what they hired you to do.
Yes, and then he gives all the cues at all the shows, right? All that conducting you see people do at musical theater is not just for the singers; it's also for the lighting department. They go by this and all that stuff.
What year would this have been that you came back to do Rock of Ages?
2011, I believe.
All right. So,
how intimidating is that? To be in charge, like the way you just explained that, I don't think I can do this. I think you have the wrong guy. Like everybody's queuing off of me. Like, hold on a second.
Well, it's easy if you're dealing with professionals. That's
I
the
don't
first
know.
thing. I won't say easy, but it helps.
The music direction thing never scared me. It probably should have. I probably wasn't. I probably was not as good at it as I thought I was in the beginning. But yeah, it never really scared me. Yeah. I love bossing people around. It's great.
And so this was in New York City, right? And it was this...
yes, the rehearsals were in New York City, and it was an American tour. So it ended up being a Canadian-U.S. tour.
Okay. So when you came back, did you get another apartment in New York City, or did you just kind of a place to live for a short amount of period, then just went on tour?
I'm trying to remember where I stayed during the rehearsals. I can't remember where I stayed during the rehearsals, but I put all my stuff in storage in New York City with the intention of moving to New York City once the tour was over. And so it's a good way to make money. You don't pay rent anywhere, and you just go on tour and all of, it's like if you're in a band, you're probably going to have an apartment because bands aren't on the road 12 months a year, but musical theater is. You just don't go home for 12 straight months. And it's all, once in a while there's an off week, but very, very seldom.
Now, is this where you and Joel Hoekstra would cross paths for the first time?
Absolutely. Later, when this musical was over, when this tour was over, it was still running on Broadway in New York. And I subbed there, I stood in for the music director there on several occasions, and that's where I met Joel. So
Joel was on the Broadway, and you were on the touring. But then once the touring was done, you would come in and just basically be a substitute for whenever their keyboard player wasn't able to make it. So, what were your now at this time? Joel's a Night Ranger. So, how familiar were you with Night Ranger at the time? When so if he's like, "Hey, man,"
I grew up with Night Ranger. I didn't know their catalog well enough to play them all by ear, but I grew up with Night Ranger. I must confess I didn't own any of their albums, but I knew basically all their hits.
So from Rock of Ages, where does Rock of Ages lead after that? I'm trying to get into what comes first, the Night Ranger experience or your next job after Rock of Ages.
I don't know. I don't know which was first.
Well, what was after Rock of Ages? Was it We Will Rock You or School of Rock?
After Rock of Ages, yes, then I did the tour, the American tour of We Will Rock You, after having already done it over in Europe.
Okay. So
which is a Queen musical, if you didn't guess already.
So let's say you're in New York City, you're doing the Rock of Ages, and Joel Hoekstra's out there rocking in America, touring the United States with Night Ranger. Do you remember how the whole encounter with Night Ranger back in 2012? Do you remember how it started? Did it start with a phone call?
It most probably started with a text from Joel asking me. I know Joel's the one who got me the gig.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. I don't know if he texted me or called me, but yeah, he would have notified me and asked me if I was interested. And like, hell yeah, I am. So he put me in contact with their keyboardist, Eric Levy.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric gave me the set list, and I started furiously learning the songs because I just had a few days to get it done. I wrote out quick just notes, like lead sheet, not notation, just like lead sheets, and brought that with me, intending to hide it best I could behind a keyboard so I wasn't like reading music on stage. And the flight was late to the first show. I arrived. They were waiting for me essentially so we could go on stage. They gave me like 2 minutes to check out. It was like, "Hey, I'm Brandon," and then they introduced themselves. "Oh, so good to meet you," And it was like, and then one of the technicians rushed me out on stage to look at the keyboard real quick, back out, and then we went out and played. And yeah, that was wow. Really, no time to even talk or get acquainted with each other. No rehearsal, obviously. It was intense.
I can't even imagine. I
Yeah,
just can't
it
even
was really
fathom
intense.
that.
Was that the first time you've ever done anything like that, filling in for an established rock band?
Yes, for an established rock band, yeah.
Okay.
A couple of times I've filled in for like, I don't know, cover bands here and there.
So how different is it from doing something like that on stage with Night Ranger than it is performing for Rock of Ages or doing any other performance in front of people? Is it obviously it's going to be different? I know that, but is it more satisfying, less satisfying?
Gosh, there's nothing more satisfying than playing in a band and actually being on stage, as opposed to most musical theater, where the band is or the orchestra is in a pit below the stage, or off in a room invisible from the stage or to the audience. Now, Rock of Ages was kind of a mixture between the two. The band was always on stage and always visible, right? But never the focal point, right? Never. There was always beautiful girls dancing in front of us, so that was the focal point, right? But the band is always there.
That's not
so
bad.
it was so that feels like a performance, right? But it's still not the same as actually being in a band where everybody who's there is just there to see the 5 people on stage. They weren't there to see me, but I mean, to see the other 4 on stage anyway.
Yeah, but you had some great intros that just set the crowd off.
Yeah.
When you start playing Sister Christian, that crowd's going to lose their mind, and that's because of what you're doing.
Let me tell you about that real quick. So we managed to get through the set, leave the stage, and then, encore. Obviously, there's going to be an encore because we haven't played Sister Christian yet, right? That's a dead giveaway. But anyway, so Jack Blades is like, "Oh, guys, I totally forgot to tell you. Brandon Ethridge came out here to save our ass. Our keyboardist, it was off. And so he came all the way from New York. We just met him today, and he did a great job. So take it away, Brandon." So, so I start playing. And then right in the middle of that quiet, beautiful, romantic piano intro, he's like, "Good job, man. Don't fuck it up."
No pressure.
Oh, no, but it just made me laugh. It made me relax more, actually. So it's
great.
And like I said, when I was there at that show, and you musically, you couldn't tell. I mean, obviously, could you tell that there was maybe no rehearsal, or things were rushed a little bit? Maybe. And just to me, because I'm a hardcore fan and I've seen them many, many times, probably no one else caught on.
I hope so.
I hope
so.
And I'm not even saying it was that obvious. Just I could just tell that, that oh wow, this is. You just tell by the way like they were interacting with you that they there wasn't much time for you guys to play together.
Gosh, yeah. Also, we had a set list on stage, but they didn't follow it. Right. So,
that helps.
yeah. So Jack is up there giving an introduction to the next song, and he's doesn't say the title of the song, but he has a certain introduction, and then Joel would run over to me. I think the next song is going to be "Secret of My Success."
Yeah, like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So at this time, you know that you're going to be playing a few dates with Night Ranger. That was the basically what they had told you, that Eric was attending the birth of his first child, and you were going to be filling in. So after the show, that first night, do you remember what happened after the show? Did they congratulate you? They take you out for drinks or anything in the mighty burg of Portsmouth, or?
No, I think we hung out in the trailer and had drinks.
Yeah,
it was real chill. It was real chill.
Did they give you a bunch of
congratulated me.
notes?
I think they liked it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long had it been since you'd seen Joel? Was it something you guys were seeing each other?
Oh, I was seeing Joel regularly because
Okay.
we were doing the Broadway Rock of Ages. So I would see him every couple of months or every
Okay.
couple times a month.
Okay. So do you remember much from so that was September 1st, 2012, River Days
Glad you told me that.
in Portsmouth, Ohio. And then you played with them September 2nd in Indianapolis and September 3rd in Iowa. Now, an old post that you'd said that you'd opened for Tesla. You were going to open for Tesla in Boston on some of those shows. Do you remember anything from the next two shows at all?
Oh yeah, I especially remember the Boston show. That's the first time I ever signed boobs.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All right,
Dig into that story.
so you did
after
the meet and
we
greet.
opened. Yeah, well, we opened for Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went out to watch Boston after we played, right? And then a couple of people in the audience recognized me, and some lady wanted me to sign her boobs, so I did.
Yes.
So I remember that.
That's very remarkable.
Yeah. And lots of people congratulating me on having a baby. And it's like, no, you got that wrong. I'm subbing for the guy who just had a baby. It's like, people are drunk at these concerts.
Yeah, it's probably Andrew and me.
I'm sort of thinking now, you just said that you played Indianapolis the next day. Was that with Tesla?
Yes, I believe so.
I was at that show.
No way.
I just realized that when you're saying that, I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, you
Labor
sure?
Day weekend.
You sure it was
God, you guys are
2012?
truly hardcore fans. That's insane.
Yeah, well, we were. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we are. But yeah, I'm almost positive I was at that show. I mean, I'll have to double check, but although it's odd, I don't remember much of it. But I just seemed like if they were playing close by, and I remember seeing Night Ranger and Tesla because if I'm remembering correctly, did it not rain?
Yes.
Yeah. Because we left during Tesla because it was just raining and we were sloppy, muddy, and I was like, I'm not going to stand here. I mean, I've already seen Night Ranger. I'm good. I love Tesla, but
Andrew might have been some of the drunk titties that you signed.
You know what? I recognize you now. That was you. You were shaving last time, right?
more cocaine, less trousers, Josh.
Well, that's cool. So there you go, Andrew. You didn't know
I
it.
just now realized that I didn't put it together because we were all the way over on Kelly's side. Like, I mean, we were so far away to the side of the stage, I couldn't see much. Like, we were almost like looking at it, perpendicular.
And that's a testament to you, Brandon, that you had already in 24 hours fit in so well that he couldn't even tell that the dude
was just drunk
with the shade.
Yeah, no,
the dude with the shades and the goatee was not on stage.
It's all like Fitzgerald. Wait,
let me say something about Eric Levy, so the keyboardist that I subbed for, Night Ranger's keyboardist. I didn't realize until later how brilliant this man is. I would have been terrified had I realized how damn good he is. I watch his videos, and every time my jaw just drops when I hear him play. He's that good, and I didn't know it back then. So otherwise, I would have been just scared shitless.
That's the best way. Like, just go in blind and just I'm gonna do that. I can do this. This Night Ranger. How hard can it be?
Yeah. And so the cool thing about otherwise it's like, sure, it's like everybody in Night Ranger is absolutely brilliant, right? But usually the keyboardist is the best keyboardist, and the guitarist is the best guitarist, right? So it's not as intimidating, right? No matter how good they are, for some reason. That's how I managed to keep my fear in check.
And how was? Do you remember? Do you remember like any feeling of, when you were knew you were going to be performing with them? And you always talk about the guitars, and you had Brad Gillis, guitar god from the '80s.
No kidding.
Night Ranger, Ozzy Osbourne. Did that cross your mind at all? Just wow, this is a dream come true.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. That said, I was so focused on just getting my part right that I kind of shoved that to the side of my psyche, which is just a necessary defense mechanism. But yes, that guy is just a legend. So it's unbelievable that I got to play with him.
Well, and then you get to sit there and watch Joel, who is just.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I mean,
he burns it up, doesn't he?
And he's always smiling. Like, is anybody having a better time than Joel Hoekstra?
No, it's insane. He after the last show, he got up at like 5 a.m. to get on an airplane so he could be to New York on time to play the matinee performance of Rock of Ages. It's like he's just unstoppable. It's insane.
Jeez.
And he actually as opposed to me, he actually practices all the time.
So
apparently, I think he does. He told me that once.
So you got any other stories or thoughts from this weekend of Night Ranger that you can share with us?
Oh gosh, it is a blur, and it's a long time ago. It's
You know what? That's that sounds like the answer most of the guys would give about the '80s.
Yeah.
Probably more medicated blurs though, but.
I wish I could go back and do it again because I've become a better rock pianist since then. I would love to go back and do it again.
Did it give you? Did it make you reconsider or give you an itch of, you know what, I would love to do this instead of what I'm doing now? Did you ever want to either start a rock band or put it out there that like, hey, if any of these bands or keyboardists quits, put me in for an audition or something. Did it change your thought process towards any of that?
It should have more. It's like I've never been one to go. I'm terrible at networking. I just don't get my name out there, meet the right people and stuff. It'd be very fun to be playing keyboard for one of these large acts like that. It has never happened.
Well, you eventually though get there in a way which will lead to. But with Night Ranger, I kind of want to bring up a name that I think Tristan Avakian.
Heck yeah!
All right. So was he with Rock of Ages with you and Joel as well, or is that later where your guys' paths cross?
He did Rock of Ages. So I did Rock of Ages twice. I did the first year of the tour, and then the third year of the tour. And so when I returned for the third year of the tour, Tristan Avakian was part of that band.
Okay. The reason why I ask is because Tristan Avakian filled in for Joel Hoekstra.
That's right.
A few times with Night Ranger. I think in 2010, maybe 2011, 2000.
That probably sounds right. It would have been before me.
Yeah, 2000. Maybe the last would be maybe 2012 as well. I know there's footage out there of him at Epcot. So Tristan Avakian is on my list as well to share his Night Ranger experiences and reading some of your information. I saw you guys have you guys' paths crossed. I
have played with Tristan Avakian more than any other human being. I have played with him on the We Will Rock You United States tour, the Rock of Ages, the third year of the Rock of Ages tour, in the band Queen Extravaganza, and in the band The Ultimate Queen Celebration. So that's 4 places already. I may be forgetting something there, but yeah.
Well, there you go. At least we have a hopefully you can put a good word in for us sometime.
Oh, absolutely.
So your last show with Night Ranger, you know, they send you on your way. Do they give you, do they give you any token of thanks? You know, does Brad Gillis give you his sweaty T-shirt or any,
Hell no. No.
anything like that?
No. We just went our own separate ways. It was a good time. It was a good time. Yeah.
So after that, I know you start entering into the Queen realm of the world. How did that start?
So I had been in the Queen musical before. I was telling you, not on stage, but like as the music director, piano player.
Now on that Queen musical, "We Will Rock You." Sorry to interrupt, but
that's okay.
Were you guys? I'm trying to think, because I saw the musical.
Yes, we were visible on the stage for brief moments up high above the stage.
That's
when the curtain opened. Yes,
you guys were like above the stage, like were you like on a rafter or something like that?
Yes, on a balcony practically. A balcony in the back of the stage.
It was just something unique I had never seen before, and I wanted to ask you because it's like after it's been so many years. I'm like, did I imagine that? Was that really happening? Yeah, it was. They were at the back of the stage, but they were up in the air, like, and it was hard to see. Like, it was almost like there was like a black netting. It seemed like over you guys, but it was just probably dark, and we couldn't, hardly see you guys. But
yeah, they used the magic of theatrical lighting, you know.
So you had some Queen experience with that musical, but.
Yeah.
So
that was Brian May, the guitarist of Queen. He's the one who primarily put that together from the music side, and then Roger Taylor, who is probably less into musical theater than Brian May. He decided at some point he wanted to get a tribute band out there in the world, a Queen tribute band. So Queen created their own tribute band. Brilliant. And he specifically wanted it to be one that didn't have costumes, that didn't do the same, where no one attempted to be the members of Queen, right? And so that started off as a online competition. So for guitar, piano, bass, vocals, and drums, and so people, just fans on online, voted on it, and then there were several rounds. I think I started with 7 Seas of Rye, and then I played. I don't even know which songs I played.
I watched that video. That's pretty impressive.
I chose the hardest one just to show off a little bit.
I mean, I know nothing about piano. I'm watching. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
That one is really challenging, actually. And so then the final round was a live audition in Los Angeles, and Roger Taylor was there. And yeah, I ended up getting the gig. So we went out on tour, played, I don't know, how many shows did we do in the end? I was with him for like several years. We did probably less than 100 shows, but
and this was
maybe more. I'm not sure.
This is Queen Extravaganza, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's
just amazing musicians in that. Really cool.
But basically, an official sanctioned tribute band.
Yeah. Which is very unusual, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll probably start seeing that more in the future as these musicians get up in age. Probably Kiss. You'll probably see. Kiss has already talked some about it, but
some say it is a sanctioned tribute.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
now.
there you go. But
I don't, but some do.
But did you have any interaction with Brian or Roger when you did "We Will Rock You"?
Oh yeah, both there and at with Queen Extravaganza. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were out all the time. In fact, both of them performed just like as guest artists, like once or twice with each of those different productions. So, they come out, the audience loses their mind, and
how intimidating is that? I mean, these guys are legends.
Yeah.
Does that affect you, or do you kind of like, hey, it's
doesn't-
just another musician?
It doesn't affect me for some reason. The one time I ever was starstruck, ever, literally, was the author Kurt Vonnegut when I met him.
Nice.
I don't know why I was starstruck by him, but I'm not starstruck by musicians. I'm just not, ever.
Wow.
It's strange.
Yeah, and Kurt Vonnegut was from Indianapolis. You could have stopped
That's
by
right.
and saw him on your Night Ranger escapade and gave him backstage passes. But
Wasn't he? Was it Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5?
yeah, that
Yes.
was
That him?
Yep.
I'm trying to quickly remember.
Yeah. So you got the gig doing the Queen Extravaganza, but that had to be fun because now again you're the focal point, kind of like you were a Night Ranger.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
you are, even though you're not with an established rock band, you are with an established name and
Yeah.
company, and
Uh-huh.
you're sanctioned by the surviving members. So that had to be fun to do that, to be back in that center of attention and
Absolutely.
not back in the shadows, so to speak.
Yeah.
So how does that morph into Ultimate Queen Celebration?
So our singer at Queen Extravaganza was a man named Mark Martel, and he sounds just like Freddie. It's guys, look him up. Mark with a C, Martel. It's insane.
I've seen many of his videos. I just played one for my wife, and she's like,
Yeah.
I said, close your eyes. She's like, that's Freddie Mercury. I said, it's not Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, yeah.
Dead on.
It's insane. And so so Queen Extravaganza didn't have that many shows booked, so he started doing some. There's a lot of demand for his voice, though, so he started doing some of his own shows on the side. And at some point, they parted ways, and now he's just doing it on his own. And he recruited me to work with him again. So I am now with him. We have our own independent Queen tribute band. Tristan Avakian is with us, Oscar Hogdell, Mike Cohen, Mark Martel. Yeah, and we were just starting to blow up, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, that's where I was heading because, again, as I'd mentioned earlier in the podcast, we were Facebook friends, and I don't know, I think maybe it was me and you had posted something about country and western music, and I think we had talked back and forth. I maybe posted some Jerry Lee Lewis stuff or something. Anyways, throughout the years, we have still kind of just been in contact by Facebook. And I saw that you were doing the Queen tour with the Ultimate Queen Celebration, and I don't know, we were talking, and you were like, yeah, man, come, and I'll put you and your mom on the guest list. And I think the only show was 3 or 4 hours away, and I wasn't able to make it. So was that what you were doing before the pandemic hit?
Yeah. We had just completed a huge 25 show run in Germany. We were playing big arenas. I mean, it was really amazing.
You guys are playing some nice venues here in the States too.
Yeah. It's getting bigger and bigger. And we were just on our way to South America. We were going to do Chile, Argentina, and Brazil, and then Iceland and Israel. And that's when COVID hit. So, yeah, we had so many great destinations to go to, places I was so excited. I've never been to South America.
I'd want to see Iceland. That would be awesome.
It's cool. I've been there twice. It's very, very cool. Yeah.
I mean, is there, get sidetracked a little bit there, but I mean, a big demand for the music over there? American music or rock music or whatever?
Yeah, there is. We played 2 nights in a row there with Queen Extravaganza, and it was I believe a 5,000 seater, so 10,000 people. It was a 2,500 seater, so 5,000 people came to see the show, and what's 5 out of 300? So that's like
60? What?
1.5% or something like that. So 1.5% of the population of Iceland came to see us.
Okay, I see what you're
Wow.
saying.
Because there's only 300,000 people who live there.
Yeah.
So
That's so cool.
So before...
no, I think it was like 6,000 came to see us. So that means 5% of whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to go on a math podcast to get that right answer.
Yeah, I didn't
we are
do that
not
right.
that.
My math is wrong there. I'm sure.
If, we're good at how many Jack Blades are in a Night Ranger. But so were you based? You were living in New York City until the pandemic hit. Is that correct?
Yeah. I still have my apartment there. I am now renting it out. And I came to Kansas just to get out of New York because, nothing was happening in New York, and I wanted to be able to see my parents and my brother and sister and their kids. So now I'm back in Wichita, Kansas. Bought me so you can see my temporary kitchen. My temporary kitchen with the plywood backsplash.
I like
I'm remodeling. I'm remodeling a house. The kitchen's all torn up.
Don't go too far because I want to talk about that. But before we get to Kansas, so New York City, I always describe New York City is one place I would definitely love to live in. If I was younger, I would have changed things and made it happen. It's I tell people it's the center of the universe. Everything is going on there. If you like this or you want to see that, there's a place for it. And it's almost like if I go to New York City and I come back to Ohio, it's like going from a color TV to a black and white TV.
Wow. Yeah.
Do you feel that when you go back to Kansas? Is it again just a little bit of, hey, I want sushi at 3 a.m. Oh wait, I'm in Kansas.
Oh gosh, I miss the restaurants. That is the I really miss the restaurants. They're all good in New York. Mm-hmm. It's like mediocre restaurants go out of business right away. You have to be good there. It's insane. Yes, I miss that. I miss having a walking neighborhood. I like that whole walking culture as opposed to driving.
Yeah, and if you have to, if it's a little bit farther than walking, you just hop on the subway and you're there in no time as well.
Well, that's the subway service started getting worse and worse with time, and then they were starting to make a lot of improvements, and then COVID hit. So I'm not sure what it's going to be after COVID, but now they have this huge budget deficit again because no one is riding the subway. So I don't know what's going to happen with the subway. Yeah. It's going to be a mess.
So you alluded that you had rented out your apartment. You came home to Kansas, and this has probably been in 2020 where there's not a lot going on and everything's kind of bland. One of the things I have enjoyed is watching you and your projects back in Kansas. So you moved back home. Do you buy a house? Is that what you've done?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And it was
a cheap one, a really cheap one, and it was a mess.
And that is what I've enjoyed. Now, my first thing was I see you out there, and you're just tearing stuff apart and building stuff and just going at it with this house. My first question was, how much experience did you have, woodworking? Did you grow up, with, in your dad's garage, or are you just learning as you go? I've
been learning as I go. So I started learning with my first apartment in New York. So, first apartment in my second time in New York. So this is 2011. And whenever the landlord sent someone over to fix something, the guy would just do such a terrible job that it would look worse than it did before. So I told the landlord, hey, I'll do it for free if you just buy the material. And he was like, okay. And it's like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I could do it better because I'm a conscientious human being, And so that's how I started learning, just by working on my own places in apartments. This is a whole different level, though. We raised the roof in the front because the roof was sagging by 5 inches, and to put that up on stilts, and so that's a different order of magnitude there, fixing stuff.
because I see you just tearing up and doing all kinds of stuff. And the other thing I was like, as I see you like you're just doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and all I could think was, don't hurt your fingers.
Yeah.
Uh,
The one time I hurt my fingers was with that. You can probably see it there. See that kitchen knife right there?
Yeah.
Trying to point to it. Yep. Cut off a little bit of the end of my finger recently, cutting some broccolini. Yeah.
You can raise the roof of the house and not be all right,
Yeah.
but making dinner. Because what was great was you went up. You found a cool letter from the end of World War II, and you're in behind a wall or something like that.
Yeah.
That was really neat. And then you have taken your attic and made it like an open space to where you kind of have a deck, maybe kind of on top of your ceiling, and then
I'll send you a picture of it. Maybe you can insert it right
yeah,
there. So
well, it will be.
Your viewers can see it.
And you have a cool so what you did was the front facade that would be separating the attic, from the outside above the porch. You removed that and put like a railing, so you can basically go up to your attic, sit on chairs, and basically look out over your front porch outside.
So it's like a balcony above the porch, and it's more sheltered from the weather because the wind doesn't whip through there.
Yep.
So it's a way of being outdoors without really being outdoors.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll throw in some photos here, but that has been, I've just enjoyed watching
this old house with Brandon Ethridge.
Oh, you tore down the barn out back, and then you found like a hidden sidewalk under the grass, and
that's gone completely now because it was killing the grass. But yeah,
so I followed him for Night Ranger, and then all this Rockstar Queen stuff. And next thing you know, I'm following him for
home improvement tips.
Yeah, home improvement tips out in Kansas.
Just trying to stay busy during a pandemic, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool you get to do that, and then you get to hang out with your family as well while you're basically not able to work.
That's right.
And probably down the road, you'll probably, I think for a lot of us, will look back at this time, and if you used it right, you'll kind of be appreciative down the road. I think
so.
That you had, we had this extra time with family and friends, and me and Andy starting a podcast and all that stuff. I tell people, if you didn't start a podcast in 2020, you never will.
Yeah.
So 2021, hopefully the pandemic and all that stuff, dies down and we get it under control. What's your plans for 2021 if everything, gets back to normal?
I will be on stage with my band, I hope. The schedule's already filling up. We'll see if those concerts get canceled. You never know.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% confident, but schedule's starting to fill up, and so we'll be out there. So I plan on doing that and continuing to renovate my house here, run back and forth, maybe go see my friends in New York again. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to play it by ear a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you can base the Brandon Ethridge headquarters out of Kansas instead of New York City.
New York City has more direct flights, but getting in and out of the Wichita airport is a lot easier than getting in and out of LaGuardia. So,
yeah. You come to Nashville.
Oh yeah,
Come
Nashville is cool.
Well,
that's where our singer lives. Our singer lives in Nashville.
Yeah, I think I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, Mark Martel.
Yeah.
So I got some just some off the wall questions I want to know about Brandon Ethridge. So the Chiefs and Royals, were you fans? Were you a fan?
I was a Royals fan growing up.
That
was not a Chiefs.
That was a good time to be growing up for a Royals.
George Brett.
Yeah.
George Brett. I was a Dallas Cowboys fan growing up, not a Chiefs fan.
Tony Dorsett, Drew Pearson, Roger Staubach from Cincinnati, Ohio.
That's right.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
And with the Chiefs, I got into them more recently, really. A lot of it was there's this amazing barbecue restaurant, Kansas City barbecue restaurant near my house, near my apartment in Queens, in New York. And they show all the Kansas City games. And so the people there are so nuts. It's like being in a miniature stadium. It's so cool. And so, yeah, that kind of caught the bug. And then Kansas City started doing better. Now they're winning Super Bowls. Jeez. Wow.
Mahomes is the best.
Well, I tell people, you haven't seen an NFL game. You might think you're.
Look at this.
There you go.
Yeah.
You may think your team's stadium has a loud crowd noise, and I've been to probably 15 team stadiums. Kansas,
really? Wow.
Kansas City by far
is loud.
Is
it's
the
loud.
loudest and the most into it, and yeah, it was Arrowhead was just a great time. I went and saw the Bengals there, and that wasn't a great time. But but yeah, you definitely got to see a game at Arrowhead if you've never been there. And Kauffman Stadium is a beautiful place as well. So
first time I went to Kauffman, I got a real quick story about that, and back to culture shock. So when this was in 2011, Rock of Ages, we were touring through Kansas City, and one of our singers was invited to see, Kansas City boy was invited to sing this national anthem for a game. So he sang the national anthem, sounded great. Game is going good. Game is fun and stuff. And at some point, the entire stadium, so what is that, 40,000 people start singing, I got friends in low places. You know, it's like, and I had never heard the song before. I had just come from Germany, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that 40,000 people know this country song and I don't, I never felt so lonely in my life. It's like 40,000 people know it, and I've never heard it ever.
Yeah, and that's
Can you believe that?
That's exactly what.
How is it possible I had never heard that song? I lived over in Germany.
Yeah. Well, it was like I said when I brought up the two MTV videos, and I come back to I was only there for 45 days. I come back and like, why isn't everybody singing the other song?
Yeah,
it's just like
exactly.
And I'm asking my friends about. I'm like, yeah, what about Within? And I know the Joel song, but Within Temptation. They're like, huh? I'm like, it's all over MTV. Like, not here. I'm like, all right, whatever, man. I just gave up. So, what is your favorite Queen song to play?
Love of My Life and Damn My Singer. He took it away from me. Now he does it solo, and I'm not allowed to play it anymore.
Oh, that's a great song.
Damn you, Mark.
Yeah. God, that's a great song.
And
it's beautiful. Seven Seas of Rye, Bicycle Race. Yeah, We Are the Champions. They're really good songs to play on the piano.
Andrew, you got some?
I was just going to ask, I don't know a lot about Kansas musicians, except for two famous musicians. They're both named Etheridge. Spelled differently, but you and your sister Melissa.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I just drew a blank. Never mind.
Well, you get it. I'm just happy you're not cramping.
That's coming.
He's notorious for getting cramps in the middle of a recording, and you just see him fall off his chair and yell.
Oh, no.
I can't. It's horrible. Old, out of shape.
What, hamstring cramp or what?
Yeah. Oh man, knots right up.
Ouch.
I've had it happen. So I play in a little crappy cover band in Cincinnati. Well, I did. I moved, and I've had it happen while I was playing. You're playing drums, and I don't know how long a cover band plays in a bar for. We play 3 1-hour sets, so
that's a lot.
That's
a lot of music.
You get to that third set, and I'm dehydrated, and I've literally jumped off the drum riser and out the back door of the venue, and the band is just playing. And the guitar player looks back, and he's like, "All right, we'll take a break." because I'm gone. I can't help it. There's nothing I can do. Now our other co-host that's not here with us tonight, Brent, he's my best friend. He's a drummer also, and he will actually now he would come to our shows, and I would he knows this. I'd signal him like, you got to come up, and he would sit in while I go like walk it
how
off.
Convenient. That's great.
Yeah, but I mean it's horrible. It's horrible. Do you still long?
Sorry.
Do you still long, or did you ever long to? I mean, I know you did your one album, but do you still long to have your own style, like your own writing? Do you ever? Are you still writing? You still doing things like that?
Writing lyrics is such a difficult thing for me. It just
because I'm a wannabe writer. I wish I could be a writer.
I'm not a very literary guy. I'm not a poet. I'm not a very literary guy. It's like writing lyrics just comes real hard to me. So that really holds me back. I'm real good at melodies and chords and arrangements and all that stuff. Yeah. I need to team up with a lyricist. That's what I need to do, and I've been thinking that for years, but it hasn't happened. I would love any lyricists out there want to work with me. Give me a call.
There you go. There you go. What advice do you have for aspiring musicians? Is there any hard lessons that you learned?
Study engineering.
Do not pursue.
All right, so this will probably be the toughest question I ask you as a pianist. Beethoven with the hits of For Elise and Symphony No. 5 and Moonlight Sonata and Symphony 9, or do you go with Mozart with, Concerto 21, Sonata 16, all those Mozart hits? I'm not really a fan of Mozart's newer stuff, but which one, if you had to pick, Mozart?
Can I ask him one more? Can I add one more to that list?
What's that?
Yeah.
Rachmaninoff?
Yeah. So that one's out. So is Beethoven or Mozart? I love Rachmaninoff.
If you had to pick one.
If I had to hear one for the rest of my life, and I would never be allowed to hear the other. So Beethoven is closer to my heart, but I feel like Mozart is more universal and would not get tiring ever. I think that, but just intellectually, so I would probably go with Mozart, even though Beethoven turns me on more. But, just because it turns you on doesn't mean you should be doing it 24/7.
I better write that down.
Yeah.
I've always been Mozart over Beethoven, but when thinking about piano pieces, I'm like, that's a tough competition. It's just amazing how those.
So as a pianist, always Beethoven. As a pianist, right? If I'm going to play something, just because he was such an innovator on the piano, Mozart's music is so pure. Gosh, it's beautiful. It can be played. It can be played on almost any instrument, but those Beethoven piano sonatas are for the piano.
So now you've got me thinking. You talk about like that. So was Beethoven such an innovator because he just pushed the boundaries? Like no one was doing what he was doing at the time. The way Eddie, and so we can really the way Eddie Van Halen took guitar to another level. He pushed it, and Mozart was just a good writer. He wrote better melodies, better pop songs, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm not really aware that, I'm agreeing with you. I'm not really aware that Mozart was such a huge innovator on instruments the way Beethoven was on the piano. So, yeah, Beethoven, Eddie Van Halen of his time, that makes sense. Absolutely. One of his sonatas, the Appassionata, the grand piano, the pianos were smaller at the time. They didn't have as many notes on the keyboard. Now there's 88 notes. Used to be fewer. Oh. And the end of the sonata goes. And what I'm singing right now is unintelligible, I realize. The very top note of the piano and the very bottom note of the piano over and over and over again. It's like, God damn it, why doesn't this go further? I need more keyboard. Like that's what it sounds like to me. Yeah, I really think he was.
Well, you talk about that, and Josh, I don't know if you're familiar, and I'm not at all schooled in classical music.
All you got to do is, Andrew, next time when they're talking about Mozart and Beethoven, you just got to throw out there, like, you know what, guys, I'm more of a Chopin guy.
Well, I always refer to the.
That's all you got to throw out there, and we're like, wow.
The old MASH episode with Radar going, Bach. That's my. But no, I had a cousin. I have a cousin. He's still around. Who was a lot like you, Brandon. He was he got his degree in music theory and all that stuff, and him and I had a really long conversation about what drew me to Rachmaninoff. It's chaotic.
Yeah.
He's just. I mean, Josh watched the movie Shine. That's Rachmaninoff, and it's just his frenetic pace of just like you think the keyboard is going to come apart.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yet, his brain somewhere, but you're like, where? Like you're just throwing notes around, man. Like, well, I'm dodging things, and my cousin's like, that's what you like, that chaotic of controlled chaos, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, that's what rock and roll is ideally.
Sometimes
so if I don't hear any chaos or danger in rock music, I don't want to listen to it. Right?
Yeah.
That's not quite true. If it's really intentionally just really chill, that's great. But if a band just sounds so controlled that no note could ever go haywire and every note is perfectly clean, it's just like, I just fall asleep. I hate that shit. I hate it so much. I would much rather hear quite the opposite, like the Rolling Stones, where
just let it slide into things.
Every note has meaning, and there's a lot of slop in there, and it's awesome.
That's one of the things. I was a kid of the '80s. I was the Sunset Strip, but a lot of my friends and my cohorts, we blame grunge for killing our music. But what I loved about Nirvana is the fact that it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't in tune, it wasn't in time necessarily, and it was raw, and I love that about music. I love. While I have mad respect for a band like Rush or Yes, because it's perfect in these crazy time signatures, but I like it when the time's a little off sometimes, and the guitar may not be perfectly tuned.
See,
because it's rock and roll.
Most of my musician friends will know this about me. It's like I just don't like Toto, right? They're just too clean and perfect for me. I do not like it.
I love Jeff Porcaro,
it's
though.
Meaningless to me.
That's funny. That's interesting.
Couple more questions for you, Brandon. What is of all the venues that you've played, is there one or two that just stand out?
Oh yeah, the Budokan. So we didn't even talk about this. I got hired to play with this huge Japanese star. His name is Tsuyoshi Nagabuchi. I had never heard of him. Thank you once again, Joel Hoekstra. You got me that gig too. Seriously, he's the one who recommended me. And we were playing. The Budokan is about a 14,000 seater, I believe. We played that 2 nights in a row, sold out with this dude. He kind of has he started off with like Dylan-esque stuff alone on the acoustic. And now it's more like the Bruce Springsteen heyday is kind of the way it sounds, right? With the E Street Band. And he has that image, that kind of that macho rock star image. We played the Budokan twice in a row. And that just blew my mind. Yeah. Budokan actually means Martial Arts Hall.
Get out.
That's what it means. Yeah, it was built for the Olympics.
And for those who don't know what the Budokan is a famous venue where the Beatles performed at.
In Tokyo, yes.
Yeah, Kiss. Yep, well, Kiss played there. Cheap Trick played there, released their famous live album, Live at the Budokan, and every other artist out there, but those are the three ones that come to mind first. Now, in Japan, is it common for a Japanese artist to hire American musicians?
I don't know if it is. He intentionally wanted it that way. I think he likes the fact that Americans are a little bit less, they're more irreverent than, he's such a legend. And I think Japanese culture shows so much respect to people of status that it's not a slap on the back. Yo, dude, what's up? type vibe, and I think he wanted to have more of that from his musicians. Maybe that's why he wanted to have Americans.
Because there's I can't remember his last name, but his first name
Two
is.
I was just going to say so his guitarist and drummer are both they're his regular guys. They're Japanese.
Okay.
They're wonderful players too, and he's been working with them for years. And so it's not the entire band that's American. And in fact, the other one was Dutch, and the other one was Canadian. So not American at all, except for me.
Well, Jack Blades had done something similar. There was a guitarist over there, and I can't remember his last name, but the first name was Tak, T-A-K, big guitarist over there, and he did an album with Jack Blades, Brian Tichy, and Eric Martin of Mr. Big. So they had that group, and then kind of bringing in the Kiss connection that Brent would like. Mike McLaughlin, who played with Peter Criss in the 90s, he's a guitarist, and he's actually made a career. He's one of my Facebook friends. He's made a career of being a musician in Japan. So he's
that's a thing.
Yeah,
that is a thing.
And so I just didn't know if that was just a one-time thing, or if that was just something kind of like how you were talking about Germany needing Americans.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that pervasive there. Like, but you know, like the musical theater in Germany is this big industry where you have to hire. You need 25 people on stage, right, and then another 10 in the band. I mean, there's really big productions, and so that's how they end up needing to hire Australian dancers and so on. Japan, I don't know if they have that need. I don't know enough about the culture, to be honest. Right. I really don't.
Well, my last question, Brandon, is this. If needed, how long would it take you to get a hold of Brian May or Roger Taylor?
Roger Taylor's more elusive. Brian May answers more quickly, and especially if you include something about astronomy in the email, he'll be very quick to answer, and probably within 24 hours.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, Andrew, we are 24 hours away.
We
are 24 hours away from getting in touch with Brian May of Queen. Yeah. Andrew, you got anything you want to add before we sign off?
No, I don't. I just thank you for your time, man.
No, this is real fun. I appreciate it, guys.
I love hearing the stories, man. You live the life that I always wanted. I wanted to be a touring musician, and I never made it there. So I love hearing those stories.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Maybe I'll go to Germany.
Make me appreciate what I have more. So I appreciate you guys supporting people like me. It's amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to do this podcast. I'm looking forward to seeing it for sure.
Well, it's great because we get the Night Ranger stories that you have, but it's also cool to go into the other worlds. Just right off the top of my head, what I like is how the fates crossed of your senior year and your musical or the university professor, you guys crossing paths and getting that college scholarship. That was just crazy how just something, just a moment can change your life. And then just here, we're rock guys and we're used to rock bands and CDs. It's cool hearing that whole story of Germany and that aspect of life, and then the doing the musicals and all that. So we really appreciate you having us on. Is there somewhere that if people are wanting to check you out, do you have an Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff?
So go ahead and go to Instagram. It's Brandon Ethridge, or go to YouTube. It's Brandon Ethridge. Thankfully, my name is unique enough that that works. So, just Google me on either one of those, and you can see stuff.
And YouTube, you do all kinds of the piano videos and all that stuff. So,
and I have a series called "Where's the Fucking Beat?" Please check that out, people. I'm pretty proud of that. It's an instructional series where to find the fucking beat in all sorts of songs that might confuse you. some songs starts off with a guitar lick, then the drums come in. It's like, whoa, I didn't think the beat was there, right? We explain how that works with Stairway to Heaven, Rock and Roll, all these famous songs. So,
And that's on YouTube as well, correct?
yeah.
All right.
Where's the effing beat? Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, and my brother sadly suffers from this. He has, he doesn't understand time. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's the guy that you see him at the concert and he's off.
So
And I'll look at
Like Steve
I'll
Martin
look
at
at
the beginning of The Jerk.
yeah, like I mean I don't have perfect time, but I mean I understand that here's the beat, right? And I'll look at my brother. I'm like, how do you do that? Because you're perfectly off time. You're perfectly off. You don't hear the drum beat on 2 and 4.
Just so you people who can't clap in time, we musicians talk about you during between sets, right? We're backstage, it's like, oh my God, did you see that dude in the third row? It's like, oh yeah, I saw him. It's just like,
it's like, or they'll come into time and then go right back out. I'm like, you had it. Oh, you were so close. You had it. Just stay there with the crowd. Stay with the crowd.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Andrew, take us out, man. Take us out.
Brandon, and we cannot thank you enough for your time and your talent and your stories. And maybe someday in the future you'll come back and give us some more of your great stories of and your house renovations.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, sure.
We'll follow you for renovation expertise. I'm trying to build a little studio down in my basement, so maybe I'll subscribe to that channel. So thank you so much, Brandon, and I'm rooting for your Chiefs. So
okay, great. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you, Brandon.
Overrated. I'm gonna be here in the middle of the sun and let it burn my soul until I disappear.
all right, how was that? Brandon Ethridge, that's another person that Josh gets these interviews with people that I don't know where they're going to go. Josh has conversations with these guys, and he kind of knows some of the stuff, and he knows their background. But they're so freaking fascinating, and that's one of the great takeaways I take away from these podcasts that we do, Josh, because I enter these things pretty much with zero research. And I just sit back and let these stories, and I'm like, and then I go to work the next day. I'm telling these guys, like, man, we just interviewed this guy, and like, who? And I'm like, never mind. I mean, you're never going to know, but it's so cool. And Brandon's just another guy that I love talking to him, and his stories are great, and he's got that great radio DJ voice going on.
Well, I could get a hold of Brian May in 24 hours.
I've told people that it's the greatest thing. I told Teresa that. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, pretty much he could get Brian May in 24 hours on the phone.
Well, some of the stuff I know is, again, I have been Facebook friends with him 8 years. So,
yeah.
And it all just started from that Night Ranger show, but then it moves on to other stuff. I like all his stuff that he was posting of New York City, and then the whole Kansas stuff and him rebuilding that house. So you eventually lose the whole Night Ranger connection, and it's just, oh, there's Brandon building on his house. And then when we start doing the podcast, I reach out and say, hey, man, you want to come on and share that story? And it's like, yeah, sure. So
well, that's the great thing is you get him on for a short story that, I mean, it's only 3 days of his life and then find out that I actually saw him and didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Which I hate that about myself, because why did I not recognize that Eric wasn't there? Mm-hmm. And I probably did, but it never stuck in my brain,
And I looked up, there is footage of that show you were at with Brandon Ethridge.
If the camera pans wide to the right, you'll probably see me way, way over.
It's not close, but you can tell that it's not Eric Levy up there. So, but yeah, and that's so it, it, like I said, eventually just gets to where it's not Brandon Ethridge who played with Night Ranger. It's just Brandon of, I learned that he was from Kansas, and I just, over the years, you just start to know him on a different level, and I'm sure everybody's got a Facebook friend that, of a friend that maybe they had when they were younger that are on their Facebook page now, and you've probably watched their kids grow up and stuff like that, but you don't really talk to them, but a little bit about their lives. So yeah, and it was just so to me, I knew he was from Kansas. So again, I was watching these things a few years ago where he's working on Broadway and he's shown all these great photos, right? And now this year in 2020, he's in Kansas in the this little backyard and working on a house. It's like two extremes, and so that was when I was thinking, I was like, man, that's just a good story there, Kansas to New York City. And then we talked about Secret of My Success. It's like, well, I guess they've already thought about that movie wise, but so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the interview. Again, it's deep, hardcore Night Ranger stuff that the trivial Night Ranger fan's not going to care, but the hardcore fans are going to want to know this stuff, and that's why we do this stuff. So if you're listening to this for the first time, again, we are on Facebook. Just go to search, just Fans in Motion, Night Ranger Tribute, whatever, and you'll find us. Click join. Very active page. We always have stuff going on, and it's just a fun, stress-free place. No politics, none of that bullshit. And then we have the website where you can go to and find all the episodes and all that good stuff. Fansinmotion.com. Nice and simple. Fansinmotion.com. Where you can listen to it on iTunes and iHeartRadio and whatever,
Spotify and Amazon,
Pandora, which I still got to add on there. But
but we're out there.
We're out there. But everything is geared towards YouTube because we do record this visually, and I will throw up photos while we talk and stuff like that. So go to YouTube and find our page as well there, and click subscribe. Do that whole thing and whatever.
And comment. Because we like to talk to everybody.
Comment and then wait 2 days for us to comment back. But
we're busy.
Well, you know how it is. But definitely let us know wherever you're listening to that you're listening to us at least, and let us know where we need to aim for, or maybe where we need to focus our attention to.
Yeah, and we know everybody wants us to talk to Jack and Brad and Kelly. Got it.
Yeah.
It's just not quite that easy to get.
Yeah,
yet.
Like I've always said, it's like, well, do you really want to get to the top of the hill? I mean, I don't. Well, after I talk to Jack and Brad and Kelly, who am I talking to?
Yeah.
It's like.
I'm always afraid Jack's going to come back and go, so you really didn't like whatever. Like he does a deep dive into our podcast and comes back and starts cracking on us about.
That would actually probably be good radio. I mean,
it'd be a good conversation, but I love Night Ranger so much I don't want to disappoint him. I would them to think bad about me.
I just wouldn't refer to I'd be like, are you talking about Kelly and Brad's band? The album that they did, Midnight Madness. Night Ranger? No, that's Kelly and Brad's band. Just to piss Jack off, I'd probably do something like that.
Or if it's something if he doesn't really like you, oh, you mean that thing Brent said? Yeah, Brent's like that. We can't control him.
No,
he doesn't like your album covers. Me and Josh, we did. We wanted to.
I took a dump all over those. And,
he hates the French horn, but we love it.
Yeah, I got to worry about that. Jack's probably the one that was like,
You know what the song's missing?
There's a French horn, and here I am singling it out, and he's he probably forgot all about the French horn till he's listening to our episode for the 13th time, and do we want to have all those guys on? Of course we do, but
I think we will in some time, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about still.
Yeah, I mean even followed up on. It's like I don't want, if I talk to those guys, I don't want I don't want the same answers. It's like I want to hear all the stuff from the stories that we haven't heard. And then if we get Jack, if I got Jack on, I probably wouldn't want. I don't want to talk about certain stuff. I would want to. Okay, hey, tell me. I want to talk about Rubicon. I want to talk about how do you stay married, being a rock. That's just amazing. And
and I would ask him too. I don't know if you ever saw the episode he did of Celebrity Ghost Stories. Did you ever see that?
I don't watch. I mean, dude, getting rid of walk around naked. Ghost will leave you alone.
he did, and I could be, and I know we're trying to end the show, but he did a, and I don't know the exact name. I'll try to find it and post it to the. I think somebody has posted it before.
It's
to
like
the
in
page.
Arizona or something.
Yeah, he had this deal with something was messing with his, and he's like, man, I don't know what was there, but something didn't seem right.
Dude,
I'll ask him more about that.
yeah, I mean,
I want to do a deep dive on how great the song "Color of Your Smile" is, and then a breakdown on how Neverland is the second greatest album they've ever done.
Seven's the greatest, second greatest album, but yeah, and you know, of course, we'd love to have all the guys on, but you know what, we'll get there.
We will.
I got other people in mind, man.
Absolutely.
I got the guitar tech of the guitar tech of the guitar tech on the Big Life tour coming up or something.
We got somebody who's got actual footage of the Big Life tour.
Yeah, that would be, see right there, that would be
That's
bigger.
That's the one you want.
It's not out there, man.
I tell you, somebody somewhere has it. They have to.
Well, listen, someone may have.
Someone had to have done a board recording shot of that show somewhere.
Well, again, if it is, it's in a vault and it's not owned by the band. It's why that stuff. It's probably a lot of people. The shit when it was sold in 1993, it ended up in a dumpster.
God,
probably.
Like I know I have a.
Your best bet is a roadie out there.
Yeah.
You know, or sound man or something. Kept some soundboards, recordings, and has them in a box in his closet from his glory days, and they're just sitting there. Or there is someone out there in 1988, 87 that took their camcorder and snuck it in, and they recorded, but it's still just in their box of VHS tapes up in the attic, and they've never done anything with it.
Yeah.
Just like Night Ranger guest VJ.
Yeah.
It's not out there. I mean, you can't find it. But I know that my aunt at least may still have it on a VHS tape because I watched it 100 million times in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it would take me, she probably doesn't have it anymore. But you see what I'm saying? It could be in a box somewhere, and if you take it and you do the proper things to it and you put it on YouTube, suddenly it's there. So is there something out there? Possibly. I think your best bet is possibly a soundboard recording from a roadie that just happens to have something.
We'll have to start working on that. I know I have somewhere and I can't find it. And I know I'm not the only one who has it, but I have the 1997-98 Cincinnati Serpentine Wall Gold Star Chili Festival stage Night Ranger concert. And I'm assuming it was the Neverland. I was sitting, dead center with Jack until security came after me. And you see the camera it just jumbles, and I take off up the steps because he wanted me to stop filming. But I don't know where it's at. That's what's killing me is I found a tape that I thought was it, and it's actually from another, which I'll get into in another podcast. But I have something from another show.
The only show I ever recorded, and again, it was back when camcorders were the size of a Datsun.
Yeah.
I think maybe they were getting smaller by then, but I didn't have one. It was in 1998. Bruce Kulick and John Corabi gave me permission to film a Union show, which Bruce Kulick of Kiss, John Corabi of Motley Crue, up in Akron at a place called Ron's Crossroads. So I filmed it from the first row.
Wow.
I got everything until except maybe the last song the battery gave out. So I own the master copy. Back then I traded bootlegs, so I made copies. And it was great because now I have something no one else has, so I can trade with all these people because none of them have it. That's how it worked back then.
Does Brent know you have that?
I don't know.
He'd probably like to have the copy of that, or he may have a bootleg copy from you, which would be hysterical.
Well, here's what's crazy is you can still find some of these people that collect them, or like their lists are still on the internet from 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And you will see that show on their list. And it's just, I just wonder how good a footage is it? Like, what generation?
How many generations? Yeah.
Yeah. It's but the master copy is in my basement in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's
now, do you still have an ability to play it?
I got a VCR and TV that I could get it going on. Yeah.
I went out and bought a couple of old camcorders. They're like a Super 8 and a VHS-C because I have some tapes, and like you said, that Night Ranger concert that I filmed is on like that VHS like C that's kind of a middle, like the Betamax of mini camcorder tapes. And I just had no way to play. I got rid of the camcorder I had, but I still had the tape.
Yeah.
And so I went and bought them like a year ago off eBay, cameras from people.
So, yeah, like I said, that stuff's out there. It's just, most people don't think that there's anybody out there that really cares. So,
yeah.
Hopefully we get something. But it's been 33 years. It's getting to the point where if we don't see it, we probably never will. So
we'll just have to crack down on it and start really making some moves.
Yeah, man. If you got Big Life out there, you got anything really.
Yeah.
Put it on the page or let us know. I mean, if you got something you want to convert it, I'll give you the money.
Let us know.
I'll give you the money to mail it to me. I'll convert it, mail it back to you, and then we'll all have digital copies and stuff. So. All right, man. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed this interview, and we will see you next week. Take us out, Andrew.
All right, everybody. Thank you once again. We appreciate everybody listening, watching, subscribing, liking, commenting. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Sun and let it burn my soul until I disappear.